It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier, so he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care, keep your family safe at home, and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Panogita moru purita nonda kantai mantunanya gitoru ilugar para honra para gloria abibai islasen para honra, para gloria, abiba islasen para todo y tempo y paz para ita dan gini langit na bendición contra peligro na sa fuham Deus protege Islandwong contra peligro na sa fuham Deus protege Islandwong.
Times wanna say what's on my mind, but I didn't. Just the other day, I wrote down all the things I said, but I couldn't. I just couldn't. Baby, I know that you've been wondering. Nothing, in case you didn't know, baby, I'm crazy about you. I would be lying if I said that I could live my life without you. Even though I don't tell you all the time, you had my heart a long, long time ago. In case you didn't know, in case you didn't know, the way you look tonight, that second glass of wine got me thinking. There's something about the kiss, boy, you didn't mean it, got me thinking. I'm thinking. One of the things that I've been feeling, oh, it's time you hear it. In case you didn't know, baby, I'm crazy about you. I would be lying if I said that I could live my life without you. Even though I don't tell you all the time, you had my heart a long, long time ago. In case you didn't know, you got all of me, and I belong to you. You're my everything. In case you didn't know, baby, I'm crazy about you. I would be lying if I said that I could live my life without you. 'Cause even though I don't tell you all the time, you had my heart a long, long time ago. In case you didn't know, ooh, in case you didn't know.
Good morning, Bree.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, good morning to our viewers all over the world, all around the world.
Sure. I want to say half a day to my Uncle Tony and my Auntie Pumpkin in
Nice.
San Diego.
All right. I want to say half a day to everybody who's here right now, and even those who aren't. Good morning.
Good morning.
It is the second day of July, of course. Lots to talk about, but let's first things first. Just to give you guys a little bit of a 4-hour heads up. This is going to be our last show. Yeah, this is unfortunately going to be our last show of containing COVID.
Don't cry.
I'm not going to cry.
You look like you are.
Well,
I
'cause I've
know.
been thinking,
I've seen you cry on this
I
show, and
know,
your
God.
eyes are like starting to water up.
Okay. No, I'm totally fine.
Okay.
But yeah, this is going to be our last show of containing COVID because we have some really big things in store for you guys in the near future. And go ahead, Bree, because I'm not sure what we can say, what we can't say, and I don't want to.
No, I think we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this may be the end of this show, but I think it's also going to be a new. Well, it is going to be a new beginning, and
Right.
so we'll be making that announcement shortly.
Yeah, but we're going to take a break, okay?
Yes.
For a couple weeks. Guys, this has been the experience of a lifetime. You know what I mean? Personally, I've had a great life. I mean, a blast, you know, being malfunction, 20 years, doing the news, all that stuff. It was great, right? But being here for COVID and doing this containing COVID show, I've never done anything like this in my life before.
Yeah. I definitely have not.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually started my career in broadcasting on radio. I started with interning, and then TV was always my track in reporting. And then before I actually came to Guam, I was doing both. I was working part-time at a radio station, and I was working full-time at a TV news station. So coming to Guam, it was all news and TV news. So
Right.
when COVID happened, it was just kind of a decision we made that
I got to give credit where credit is due. It was actually Sabrina's idea. God, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry this early in the morning. No. It was Sabrina's idea. You know, when the COVID happened, you know, one of the first decisions out of the company was we need to obviously do things to mitigate the risk of COVID-19. And so we went on our own lockdown. And we were thinking, how are we going to honor this commitment that we made to the audience that we've built to KUAM over the years? And Sabrina, I came in that morning and she was like, hey, what do you think? She was like, come here. She's like, what do you think? What if we do a radio show? And I was like, what?
and not just a radio show.
Exactly. That's what got me, because the radio show, I was like, that sounds great. And she was like, not just a radio show. How about we do a radio show? We throw it up on Facebook Live. We put it on the TV. We kind of add a multimedia aspect because obviously, you know, our roots in TV, social media, digital broadcasting, that's a huge part of what we do is the video component, right?
Mm-hmm.
And telling stories that way. And so being a radio guy, it's kind of one-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just audio. You're here, people listen, and it's great, but it's 2020. And, you know, radio in some ways has become outdated. And so with you pitching this, not just radio, we're going to reach people around the world. We're going to give them the info that they need to have. I mean, and you're like, okay, you're on board because I'm going to take it to management, and I don't want to take it to management if you're not on board.
Right. And there really was no other person that I would have approached about this, to do this. And I had to check with Chris first. I was like, man, are you willing to do this? It's going to be, you know, early in the morning. And we had already been used to getting up early in the morning because we were working out at 4 in the morning.
Right.
And so when you said yes, I was like, okay, let's go. We have to let everybody know what's going on. I didn't know, though, that it would be, you know, this long.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
It's not just this long. It's the type of experience that it's been. Like I said, this has been an experience of a lifetime. We've laughed together. Mm-hmm. We've cried together. we've faced life and death together.
Yeah.
We've struggled together. We've suffered together. And through it all, we've just really tried to keep you guys in our mind and to think about how these decisions that our leaders are making affect you guys out there. But thanks for believing in me, Bree, because, you know, I know I got my share of controversy, but you really, you know, went to bat, and I appreciate it, man, to offer me, you know, this opportunity. And, of course, to our management here at KUAM to give us the green light and really the freedom to just go out here and put on the show. I mean, they're just like, do it, guys. And it really just kept snowballing, you know. And I was going back this week, knowing that today was going to be the last day, just looking at some of the shows that we've done, you know, some very memorable interviews. A couple of the ones that really stick out. And I'm going to go for, you know, when we take a break, I'm going to kind of be sharing some of this stuff on my social media. But the interview we did with the Adelup Press Secretary, Crystal Paco, that was definitely one of those, wow. The Carlo Branch interview. There's just been a lot of really good interviews. Father Paul Guffigan,
yeah, I was going to say Father Paul.
I mean, talking to him during Holy Week and trying to process that so many people wanted to be closer to God and the faith during Holy Week, but they just couldn't, you know. And so it's definitely been an experience of a lifetime. And there's been some sacrifices that we've made, but again, they pale in comparison to the sacrifices that you guys made. Like, I had to switch up the whole schedule of getting my kids. You know, I got joint custody, and I always get them Wednesday to Saturday. So for the last few months, I haven't been seeing my kids as much. You know, I've been getting them on the weekend, which is great because we got a lot of time to do stuff. But that's one of the things that I sacrificed for the show, and I just really, I was thinking I want to take this break, and I want to spend time with my family, and it's all just gone by so fast.
Yeah. The same with me with my son. So
Right.
I told him, I was like, so you ready to go to the beach?
Right. So
it doesn't mean we're leaving KUAM.
No, we're not. And we'll get to, there's some big things, and I'll just say it, we're definitely coming back, and it's going to be way bigger. I feel it's going to be way better. And I get it, you know, I get it. And going out there, so many people have reached out to us about what KUAM's doing, about what Sabrina is doing, about just everything that we put out there. And they said some very, very powerful words that, you know, hit me. And I know that you guys are counting on us to be there for you, and we're not leaving you.
Yeah, we're not.
We're not leaving you guys. It's just that it's been a long road, and this is the time, I think, that for us to come back and do things the way we want to do them, and to be here permanently, we just got to take this little break. And I got to get some family time in. You know?
Yeah, that, and also we're going to be making some changes in the studio because, like Chris said and hinted, that it is going to be a different show when we come back.
Someone commented, "Don't tell us you are both part of the 2020 retirement batch."
No,
we're not. We're not retiring. We're not resigning. We're not getting fired.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure we gave you a heads up that
Right,
there's going to be some changes. When tomorrow comes, the next week comes, I believe Andy will be here. There's still going to be news. There's still going to be music. There's still going to be entertainment. It's just we are taking this pause to make the necessary adjustments and changes from this particular show to something completely different.
Yeah, it's a big transition. And, you know, I know I'm saying we're going to take a break and we're going to get the family time in, but we're coming back early to work on things for you. And, you know, the KUAM team, man, these guys have just been amazing throughout this pandemic. Our news team, our digital team, our sales team, our management. I mean, we've all really had to dig deep, you know what I mean, and kind of look at what our priorities are here. And for me, being in the media, this was really the time where it just laid everything bare and really showed everybody what the media is supposed to be about. I mean, it's crucial. Our role to get information out to you guys, that's the priority, especially in a time like this. I mean, there's just important things that you guys need to know now, and that's part of it. The other part, of course, is holding people accountable. And we're very fortunate that we got this platform. We're very fortunate that you guys supported us in doing it. So we ask that you know, keep your eye out, keep your ear out, and when we pop back, we just hope that you guys pop back with us. So It's 6:35. Let's go ahead and start the show then with a dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines. And there are some big headlines with COVID-19 with the very latest from the KUAM News team. Good morning, Sabrina Salas-Matanani.
Hafaday, good morning, everyone. The number of positive COVID cases has gone up, according to the latest numbers released by the Joint Information Center last night. Out of 369 tests ran by Public Health's lab, 4 returned positive. This is on top of the 10 positive cases reported the day before. We won't know any information about the 4 new cases until later this afternoon. However, as for the 10 yesterday, according to Public Health's situation report, 2 of those cases tested positive at Public Health's lab and were identified through contact tracing. 2 cases tested positive at Diagnostic Laboratory Services, or DLS. 5 cases tested positive at the Department of Defense. Now, none of those 9 cases reported contact to a confirmed case. 1 case tested positive at the Guam Memorial Hospital. This case reported household contact to a confirmed case. Now, the SIT report also indicates there is 1 hospitalization. 4 of the new positive cases are women, 6 are male. 5 are from northern Guam and 2 are from central Guam. 2 are from southern Guam. Public Health Situation Report is updated weekdays at around 1 p.m. We will have an update at that time on our social media platforms of the 4 new cases. Additionally, the Joint Information Center announces they will no longer provide nightly updates of confirmed COVID cases, but rather, in an effort to align reports, they will report cumulative COVID-19 test results in the afternoon when the results from the various labs are reported to Public Health and the situation report is released. For now, the total number of COVID-19 cases on Guam is 271 with 5 deaths, 179 recoveries, and 87 active cases. 225 are classified as civilians and 46 are military service members. The Guam Education Board has signed off on the resolution supporting the recommendations of the District School Readiness Task Force for the upcoming school year. Adriana Cotero reports.
It's been Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting and hours of planning.
And this is what I call teamwork. We're one family.
After receiving input from the public school parents, the parent-teacher organization leaders, school faculty and staff, and with the support of the Governor's Office, Public Health, and the Physicians Advisory Group, the Guam Federation of Teachers, and the Mayor's Council, the Guam Education Board has approved the curriculum instructional models designed by the District School Readiness Task Force. GDOE Superintendent John Fernandez.
We shut down schools and we shut down the governor shut down the government of Guam back on March 16th. And right then and there, I'm very proud of the team that came together to really focus on what DOE's role could be and should be as part of the COVID-19 response efforts, not just for our school system, but for our entire island.
Safety a top priority, and following CDC guidelines, GDOE is targeting August 11th for the start of the new school year. The basic framework is to offer 3 curriculum models for the parents to choose from. One option is 100% online learning at home, another is home learning with hard copy instructions. And the last option is a traditional face-to-face in-class learning, blended with at-home learning with students placed in alphabetical cohorts and following an ABC and repeat schedule Monday through Thursday. As for Fridays, this day will be open for parent-teacher conference time, explains Deputy Superintendent Joe Sanchez.
We wanted to make sure that that time is allotted during the school day where teachers are in their classes, there's a phone available, they can answer questions from teachers and students and have that done kind of on a regular basis.
In addition, for on-campus students, there will be isolation rooms and the uniform requirement will be suspended. As for bus transportation and feeding operations, the department is still working out these details. You can view GDOE's press conference in its entirety streaming live on their Facebook page. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero. Live on their Facebook page. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero.
Senators, in the meantime, got an update on Wednesday from Labor Director David De La Sola on the rollout of the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. He spent a couple of hours fielding questions from lawmakers during an oversight hearing. He said one of the most common delays with the claims continues to be a lack of documentation. Additionally, he was asked about a possible leak of confidential information.
Thank you very much, Director De La Sola, for mentioning privacy issues. And without going too far into specific private matters, I am aware of a leak of unemployment application details this week. So thank you for giving us an update on this. But if you could tell the committee how your department is responding to this information becoming public, what consequences are possible for any government employee who intentionally violated the agreements that you showed us, the agreements to keep this kind of information protected. You mentioned that they'll be reported to the AG and to an Inspector General?
Inspector General, yes.
Okay, and can you also share with this committee any investigation into this specific leak? For instance, have you seen any proof that the leak was done by a GDOL employee? Is there any evidence that points to this being the case, or how could this have happened?
Well, yes, of course. As soon as I heard that there could have been any kind of potential breach or leak or something, we quickly went down and started looking and investigating. And you know, everybody is just so busy down there working, and nobody's aware of any breaches. Nobody's aware of anything. Everybody's just doing status quo. We keep asking. We re-emphasized, and we went over the confidentiality and the privacy that they all signed. We went over the possible ramifications if we do hear of any, and we even reviewed the fraud email address to see if there was any report of somebody at at my department that could have said leaked it or anything like that. We found no mention that any leaks came out of our department, and or did we find any evidence of it? But I'm not going to say that it is not possible. Anything is possible when behind closed doors and people are at home. But everybody's, I mean, like I said, we deal with tens of thousands of claims, and we haven't had one report of anybody at our department leaking, mentioning, or saying anything about any claim to the public and got any reports or complaints from it. So we'll continue to emphasize the privacy issues, and we'll continue to make sure that they are aware of the consequences. And I have faith in my team to ensure that they adhere to what they signed and what they agreed to, and I'll just continue to monitor it. But to this date, there was no evidence that anything came out of my department.
De La Sola, in the meantime, says in the 3 months since they began work to stand up Guam's first ever unemployment assistance program, they've managed to pay out more than $120 million and have received nearly 33,000 claims. More than 29,000 of those have been accepted. More federal CARES Act funding rolling into Guam as the Guam Regional Transit Authority receives a $2.7 million grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Transit Authority. GRTA will use the money to support fixed route bus and paratransit services and to purchase vehicles and personal protective equipment during the COVID-19 pandemic. During a recent budget oversight hearing, GRTA General Manager Sal Babalta was emotional as he discussed the issue of using a portion of the grant money to purchase up to 24 passenger buses to further paratransit operations and take over fixed routes. Additionally, their FY 2021 budget will be used to also hire additional bus drivers.
I want you to know, Mr. Chairman and Senators, that since we've taken over paratransit, we have never denied any of our people with disabilities transportation. And prior to this, Attorney Marcy Santos told me on one occasion that one of her clients was denied transportation previously, and that person became very sick and never recovered. So I made it a point to my people that we will not deny any person with disability transportation. Mr. Chairman and Senators, really, we're talking about the most vulnerable people in Guam.
That's correct.
That we're transporting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for making sure. Let's just take care of our most vulnerable people on Guam.
Okay.
Because there's no reason for them to be denied transportation. Not when we have them.
I feel for these people, to be honest with you.
Yes,
and that's why we're working very hard to make sure that our transit system is reliable and safe for our people.
Yes, because in the past, a lot of our most vulnerable folks out there were being denied. They're waiting on the site over at Paseo. I remember that, and I was like, wow, it's amazing. Now,
Marianas will receive about $14 million in airport safety and infrastructure grants. U.S. Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao announced that nearly $800 million from the Airport Improvement Program and the CARES Act will be dispersed through the FAA to various states and territories. Guam will receive $11.3 million for runway rehabilitation. Rota will be getting $2.1 million to install perimeter fencing around its airport, and Saipan was awarded $555,000 to improve and modify its airport rescue and firefighting building. With regional news now, we check in with our Tomas Manglotnia, who is live in Saipan. Good morning, Tomas.
Good morning, Bree and Chris. Here's the latest making news from the CNMI. At a press briefing yesterday, KUAM asked the Lieutenant Governor, where is the governor? As some viewers and officials have questioned his ongoing trip to the Northern Islands, which he says is an effort to promote the islands with a YouTube vlogger, among other efforts. Take a listen.
Yeah, Gary, I have a question for the LT that's not related to education. I just wanted to briefly ask, where is the governor?
You know where he is, right? He's in the Northern Islands. Which island today? I'm not sure. We were supposed to be communicating by satellite phone, but somehow the satellite phone that was to be doesn't really work. I see that he calls me every morning for an update, but I know he's safe in the Northern Islands. On this project, and you know what that project is, probably as much as I do.
And do we know he's expected to be back on island?
The plan was, initial plan was he's supposed to be back this weekend. But you know, going on the Northern Islands, when weather changes on you and the sea conditions or ocean conditions changes, those things sometimes take a day or two, give it a day or two before or after your scheduled arrival. So I expect him back this weekend.
Thank you.
And in other news, at a press briefing yesterday, Secretary of Labor Vicky Beneventi tells us that more than 5,000 applications have been submitted in the Northern Marianas for pandemic unemployment assistance. She says she expects payments to be made within 7 to 10 days for applications marked as complete. And at that press briefing, we asked her response for those who are saying that it's taking too long. She tells KUM that it's only been 2 weeks since the launch. She explains that 2 weeks is a long time for people who are suffering, who are waiting for free federal benefit. She adds that she understands the stress level, and so she hears those comments and totally understands. Beneventi also adds that the Department of Labor is expecting to disperse less than 1,000 checks here in the CNMI in the next week or so because a majority of applications are not complete. In a previous press conference, she projected the total number of applications would be nearly 10,000 in total. And here's the latest news from the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation's dashboard for the COVID-19 count here in the CNMI. The number of confirmed cases for COVID-19 in the CNMI as of June 26 remains at 30, with 2 deaths. Saipan so far has tested just over 7,000 people. Nearly 500 people have been tested on Tinian, and close to 600 people have been tested on the island of Rota. Bree and Chris, that's the latest making news here in the Northern Marianas.
Police are seeking the community's help in locating 27-year-old Justin John Portasak, who is the subject of an ongoing stalking complaint being investigated by GPD's Domestic Assault Response Team. Police spokesperson Paul Tapau confirms that Portasak is the person of interest from last week's hit-and-run car crash incident at the Central Precinct Command in Sinahania. Portasak is considered dangerous and should not be approached. He is known to frequent the Kina Court in Totu, Agania Heights, and PD areas. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to call GPD at 472-8911, 475-8615 through 17, or the DART office. That number is 475-8420. Information can also be submitted to the Guam Crime Stoppers tip line at guam.crimestoppersweb.com. Information will be kept confidential, and a cash reward of up to $1,000 could be paid if it leads to an arrest and a grand jury indictment. 2 of the 6 defendants in an estimated $11 million Medicare ambulance fraud scheme will spend years in federal prison. Clifford Shoemake and Kimberly Connor appeared for their sentencing hearing in Chief Judge Francis Taidinko Gatewood's courtroom. The 2 are previous owners of Guam Medical Transport and pled guilty to filing fraudulent ambulance transportation service claims for personal use. They were indicted in 2016 along with Nicholas Shoemake, Thelma Joyner, Jared Atta, and Trevor Cruz. Clifford Shoemake was sentenced to 71 months in prison, and Connor was sentenced to 63 months. Both were ordered a 3-year supervised release term after their prison time and pay millions of dollars back in restitution. As for the 4 others involved, they entered plea agreements with the government and were sentenced to probation time. Maritzo Mayor Ernest Chargaloff suffered a pair of strokes and was taken to the Guam Memorial Hospital Monday afternoon. According to Artson Nicholas, who is speaking on behalf of the family, an EKG was performed and indicated that Chargaloff is suffering from a atrial fibrillation. He says he was moved into the ICU and is recovering well. Chargaloff will be monitored at GMH for the next few days. St. Nicholas says that the 3-term Maritzo mayor is asking village residents for their support and prayers. In national news, Vice President Mike Pence travels to Arizona to discuss that state's coronavirus response, and the United States reports nearly 45,000 new cases. That's the second highest total since the pandemic began. Chris Martinez reports from Los Angeles.
Texans waited on long lines in Houston to get tested for COVID-19.
It was about a 3-hour wait, and they ran out of tests.
Houston area ICUs are at 93% capacity. Statewide, hospitalizations are up 332% since Memorial Day. Doctors want to get the numbers back down.
My frustration is that we did it. Why do we take everything for granted?
The U.S. reported nearly 45,000 new cases Tuesday. Almost half came from 3 states, Texas, Florida, and here in California. Testifying at a Senate hearing, Dr. Anthony Fauci warned it could get much worse if action isn't taken.
I would not be surprised if we go up to 100,000 a day.
Health experts say following the guidelines work.
We know what works. We got to get everybody to wear masks. We've got to really think about indoor gatherings and whether we can afford them. I think largely we can't. No bars, no nightclubs, no gyms.
Some seem to be getting the message.
We've just decided to stay home for the weekend. We might be on the more conservative side of how people are thinking about it, but we just don't want to be out.
At least 18 states have now either paused or rolled back reopenings due to the coronavirus. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
California's governor is expected to announce new restrictions this afternoon. In your Banking 671 report, don't be intimidated by pressure, threats, or confusion tactics of scammers that often use scare tactics and coerce victims into acting quickly before they can look deeper into their lies. Never respond to threats and or demands for payments or your personal information. Learn about how legitimate businesses or government agencies might contact you by visiting their website or calling a number that you know to be genuine. That is your Banking 671 report, brought to you by the Bank of Guam and Coast 360.
All right, there you go. Your last 6 a.m. news update on containing COVID ever. We're just going to say that throughout the whole show. Right. Last time I outroed Breeze 6 o'clock newscast on containing COVID. Good morning. It's 6:54. We're trying to jam a lot of info in this morning. We got Reverend Tax Director Daphne Shimizu in the 7 o'clock hour. Also catch up with Minority Leader Senator Tello Taitagui. And we'll speak to some veterans. Find out where we are with veterans issues at 6:54. But first, let's start it off by bringing on from the Micronesian Climate Change Alliance, Monieka Dioro, to talk about a plant-based cookbook that they put out. We're going to pop up we got some cool pics and videos. And this is pretty cool. It's Fangiasi. And Monieka, good morning.
Hi.
First.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is really neat, and I want to say it's probably the first of its kind.
Yeah, I think for all of Micronesia, this is the first time we've had a plant-based cookbook, and we adapted a lot of Chamorro and Filipino recipes, and we highlighted a lot of fruits and vegetables that grow right here on our land. So you don't even have to worry about how far, about the carbon footprint of a lot of the ingredients in the cookbook.
Can you tell us some of, the recipes that are in the cookbook?
We have a really good one that I've really enjoyed making, and I've done it a few times. A plant-based tofu, Kelaguen. And it tastes just like chicken. I was like, I don't like plant-based meats that often, or like just like fake meats. I like to eat vegetables a lot, but I'm not a huge fan of tofu. But this one was actually really, really good, and that one's really, really yummy. You can't go wrong with Kelaguen ever. Right. There's Tinactac as well, a plant-based Tinactac.
Oh, tell me about that.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
That one is using a plant-based meat, and the plant-based meats have like stepped up so much in the last few years. This one's a Beyond using Beyond Burger. So it's all the same that you would usually do with Tinactac, as far as the coconut milk and the calamansi or lemon and everything, but instead of ground beef, you would use the Beyond Beef ground. I don't even know what is Beyond Beef. I think it's like pea protein.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the cookbook now, and can we go into because one of the first few pages you talk about finding your why for a plant-based diet, and obviously. It's sustainable, so I can understand the Climate Change Alliance's involvement in it. But there's also the health aspect of it, right? We do want people to eat more fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, here in the islands, we have such high rates of cancer and diabetes, and those are lifestyle diseases. Those are based on our movements of our bodies throughout the day and the things that we put into our bodies. So if we put healthier ingredients into our bodies, and then undoubtedly we'll be more motivated to exercise more. But it really, this is like your own personal journey, whether you're really healthy or not.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to ask what made you decide to. Are you? So you are? Is it vegan or?
No.
Whatchamacallit? No, you eat meat. You eat meat, right, Monieka?
Yes, I eat meat, but this is just. I go like seasonally, or I'm definitely plant-based, like cumulatively, like 3 months out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I do like seasonal detoxing, or I just like, I definitely don't eat meat. I've been pretty good about not eating meat on Mondays or throughout Lent or something like that. I stop meat every so often. And I feel like I try to eat meat that I know that where the source is from, or if I can't say no to my Nana. If she makes me something.
There's still, I think,
there's no meat.
That generation is still in that mentality, like, don't waste it because the war, right?
Yeah.
So I guess what got you into this? I mean, are you deciding that I want to make a plant-based cookbook?
Well, we at Micronesia Climate Change know that everybody loves food here. Food is such a huge part of our community. Every time we gather, we always have to bring something to eat, and we gather around food. And we wanted to use food as a way to connect the community to the climate crisis, because it's something that everybody needs. It's something that has brought us so much joy. So if we could encourage people to be more conscious of the foods that they eat and understand how the food systems have hurt the planet and have hurt our bodies and be a little bit more mindful when they choose what to eat, then it's a really great place to start the conversation in our community about how we can be part of the solution for the climate crisis.
Let's talk about seasonal now. So, a lot of good fruits and veggies in season now locally. What is your go-to here in July?
Mango season is upon us. It's just about coming to its end, and I love mango season and avocado season. The summer is definitely a great time of the year to forage or like check up on your aunties and uncles that have the trees in their yards. So it's fun. I think it's like just experimenting with our fruits and vegetables and knowing the different kinds. Like this mango season, I got real serious because I got a dehydrator, and that just changed the game for me. I'm taking data on like all the varieties of mango, all the villages I got mango from, and the numbers of mango. I think I'm up to like 300 mangoes.
Let me know if you need an assistant because I love mango so much. It's crazy. You know, you crack me up when you talk about foraging because. I'm a renter, and people always wonder, where are you getting this avocado or this mango? That's what I do. I go on a tour, and I'm like, stop at this party's house, and hey, party house, and then I go stop at that party's house, and we go over to Auntie who has Laguna, and then by the time we come back, we got, 10 pounds of mango.
Yeah, and
10 pounds of donut.
We're also launching a food series with Micronesia Climate Change Alliance, and we're doing a whole thing on foraging. Food security is such a huge issue on our islands right now, especially given COVID and given job security. We really need to be planting more and really relying more and returning back more to our lands to feed and nourish us. So we have our food series coming up on YouTube. We launch our very first episode next week, and our host, Cami, who also is part of the KUAM family, and my sister Francesca will be looking into all different aspects of what food security and food sovereignty looks like.
Tell us more about that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's just really exciting. Because we really want to bring our message to and have it resonate with young people. That's where the climate change issue is the strongest spot amongst the youth. You saw that worldwide with protests last year. With people by Greta, and then there's a lot of young people throughout the states who are actually suing the federal government for inaction on climate change. So really meeting young people where they're at on social media, on YouTube, and really giving our community more resources, because there's not a lot of YouTube resources for us on how to plant in our environment, or what are how different foods to eat. We've been supporting Guahan Sustainable Cultures, which is helping uplift the farmers here, and they provide CSA boxes or produce bags every single week since April, I believe. And there's so many fruits and vegetables in there that when people pick it up, they're like, what do I do? What is this thing? What do I do with Amalgostu? So there's a huge need for education and a reintroduction to the fruits and vegetables that grow here, and we're hoping to accomplish that with the food series.
That's cool. And you're going to have a bunch of giveaways for that, too. So
KUAM's going to be helping give away 5 bags a week, I believe, for 10 weeks. Over the next month.
Bree and I are just fangirling over the sigaritas with coconut milk and the veggie tequilas.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, it's
good.
good.
And we're hungry, so it's decolonized to Mexicana champolado.
I was hoping you got a decolonize in there somewhere. Well, Maniaka, we just wanted to get you on and pump this cookbook. I thank you. I'm going to try out some of these recipes. And you're right. We do kind of need to reintroduce our people to some of these, like Laguna, the soursop, man. I grew up with my grandma would put that in the fridge, put it in the freezer. And we'd always have one that we just sit around and eat together. And, it's soursop season. So I picked a few. And some of my friends are like, how do you even eat this? Like, you don't know about Laguna? What? Where you been? So, yeah, you're right. And then with avocados, right? So it's avocado season. And my mom's brother, Uncle Raymond, has 2 really good avocado trees. But he's got, it's just him and the wife staying there. So the whole COVID, I've been going over there and picking up all the avocados and that dropped and just giving them away because I was just thinking.
I'm a beneficiary.
Right. She's on the avocado program. Because I don't want it to go to waste. And, it's weird. Like, there's some years where we go over and you're just stepping on avocado or you're stepping on mango. And I think this year, really with the COVID and knowing how much everyone's been struggling, I think a lot of the foraging I've been doing has been trying to like gather fruits and veggies and give them out to people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the best resources that we put into the book is how to use the coconut as food, because the coconut is such a huge part of our culture. It's given us so much, and with the rhino beetle, it's really important that we all reconnect to that resource and use it before we lose it. It's proven that Thailand has had rhino beetles, Palau has had rhino beetles since World War II. But part of the reason why they've been able to maintain their populations of coconut trees is because they really use it. So if we can inspire people to, instead of going to buy coconut milk or coconut oil, but instead make their own, even though it takes more time and effort, it's still such a worthy way to use your time and help protect our island's resources.
Well, thank you. And so you can look forward to recipes every Monday on the KUAM News Instagram. So
yeah, it's also available on Micronesia Climate Change Alliance's website, and will be in stores, print at all Paylesses by the end of the month.
Awesome. I'm just looking at some of the recipes.
Lumpia wrapping 101.
I'm definitely going to try some of these. So thank you so much.
Are you?
Yeah,
I'm down. Let me know.
I got some time.
Watch out, Bree's going to come back like a vegan, indigenous, decolonized diva.
Well, we're hoping to get some of KUAM's personalities into Payless's Edu Kitchens to be doing it live on air, to making some recipes live on air.
Nice. Sign me up, yeah. Jason Solis also wants to do it.
Yay.
Okay, Maneka.
Bye, Maneka.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Wash your hands.
Okay.
Okay, bye. That's cool.
Barbecue jackfruit sandwich. Ooh. Yeah, the cigadizas and coconut milk, definitely got to try that. I might just go after work.
Yeah, anything with coconut milk, right?
Yeah.
Finally found a use for all this cigadizas. It's 7:06. We're going to take a short break and come back with more of Containing COVID next, right here on Guam's favorite. Good morning.
Ambrose Inc.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier. So he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care. Keep your family safe at home and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
We're all in this together, and that means we all need to continue to do our part.
Now, we've all done an effective job of containing COVID throughout the Marianas, but we need to continue to maintain to stop the spread.
We can't let our guard down. Each and every one of us are soldiers in this war against COVID-19, and every day is a battle.
It may sound hard to believe, but combating COVID requires us to hold the line every single day by continuing to practice social distancing, wear a mask, and wash your hands.
If there's anything we've learned these past few months is that things can change within hours. We can wake up in the morning hearing there are 0 positive cases, and by the time we go to sleep at night, we can see a spike.
That's why we urge you to please continue the fight, not just for yourself, but for your family and friends.
We can do this together.
Let's all stay ahead of the spread.
This message is brought to you by the KUAM Care Force.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
We're all in this together, and that means we all need to continue to do our part.
Now, we've all done an effective job of containing COVID throughout the Marianas, but we need to continue to maintain to stop the spread.
We can't let our guard down. Each and every one of us are soldiers in this war against COVID-19, and every day is a battle.
It may sound hard to believe, but combating COVID requires us to hold the line every single day by continuing to practice social distancing, wear a mask, and wash your hands.
If there's anything we've learned these past few months is that things can change within hours. We can wake up in the morning hearing there are 0 positive cases, and by the time we go to sleep at night, we can see a spike.
That's why we urge you to please continue the fight, not just for yourself, but for your family and friends.
We can do this together.
Let's all stay ahead of the spread.
7-Eleven. Good morning. Hey, the show is all proudly brought to you by Calvo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam. In case you're just joining us, this is going to be our last show of KUAM News containing COVID. Thank you guys so much for making us. A lot of you got a bunch of comments. We've become part of your morning routine. Definitely appreciate that. You guys are our morning routine. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about all the people we went in on in the last few months. Like, oh boy, it was.
But we also celebrated a lot of amazing people in our community.
Right.
You know, that stepped up and have given back.
And there's so many of those people to celebrate and talk about all the time. 712. I wanted to kind of dive a little bit into some veterans issues here. And I want to bring on, he's the former chair of the Guam Veterans Commission under former Congresswoman Madeline Berdallo. And he's kind of been one of the vets that I go to when I need to find out, what veterans on Guam are thinking about. And so we want to bring on a retired First Sergeant Dan Mendiola onto the show. Good morning, Dan. Hello?
Hello. Good morning, Dan.
Hello.
Yep.
Dan? Okay.
Try calling him back later.
We could try calling in a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, one of the things that Dan and I were talking about was this Congressional Veterans Advisory Council. And we're going to play a clip here. It's from a story you had done. And when was the congressman's address?
Earlier this year?
I want to say it was February, right?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. And so there's a short clip we have here of Congressman San Nicolas where he's talking about the formation of this Congressional Veterans Advisory Council. So if we could, I'll go ahead and play that over here, and we'll play it up on the Facebook as well.
Congressional Veterans Advisory Council, of which will be spearheaded by local veteran John Annaninch.
This entity shall be a registered nonprofit organization dedicated to aligning congressional findings and resources with concrete solutions to the struggles of all of our veterans.
I was looking around at Facebook here, and I had found the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council Facebook page. And so, and kind of following up on it, because that was way back in February, I kind of wanted to see where they are in terms of helping our veterans, because in talking with some of their veterans, including Sergeant Dan, they haven't really heard anything from this Congressional Veterans Advisory Council. So on the Facebook page, I know we have some pics there we can throw up. There is a page there, and it does look like they were posting some things. And there was a phone number. So yesterday after the show, I called the phone number, and I just want to play this for you guys. Hello?
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 Yes.
Hello?
Yes, how can I help you?
Where's this?
This is Ananich for Guam.
Oh, this is not the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council?
Oh, yes, we are also with the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council.
Wait, which one is it? Because I thought I was calling the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council.
This is John Ananich's phone, so he's both for Ananich for Guam and the chairman for the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council.
So this is the same number for his campaign?
This is his cell phone.
Okay.
Yes.
This is Chris from KUAM. I'm just calling to get an update on the CVAC because I just saw, well, we know that Ananich was appointed to lead it by the congressman, and we've been hearing from veterans that they haven't really heard anything from the Veterans Advisory Council, and I was just trying to do some follow-up. Is it because Ananich is now running for senator that we're not really hearing much out of the CVAC, or?
You know what? Is this the best number that we can reach you?
Who is this?
This is Jay.
Okay. Jay.
Yes.
Jay.
Jay Dakanai.
Okay. So are you with the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council or Ananich
Yes.
for Guam?
Both, actually.
Okay. So this phone number is for both the John Ananich campaign and the
actually had
Congressional Veterans Advisory Council?
That is not. If you had called the landline, we probably had the calls forwarded to his cell phone because he stepped away.
I'm just going off what I see on the Facebook. So on the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council, it says this is the number you call if you're a veteran.
Okay. Which
So this is a campaign. Is this a campaign line or?
Which number are you looking at?
I'm looking at the number that's on the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council Facebook page.
Okay, and that is is it a 969?
It's 788. I'm sure you know the rest.
This is actually John's cell phone.
Right, but it's actually listed on the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council Facebook page.
Yes, his
as
cell
the
phone is
contact.
listed there. That is correct.
Right. So is this? Am I calling John Ananich's campaign or am I calling the CVAC?
You are calling CVAC.
But you answered the phone and said Ananich for Guam.
You asked me who I was.
You said Ananich for Guam when you answered the phone. Okay, I'm just trying to get an update. So is there anything you can tell us about, or should I just call John himself, or?
You know, I will make sure to relay the message to Tanya and John.
But what about those veterans who
respond to you?
Jay, what about veterans who are trying to call this council and instead they're getting the campaign phone for Ananich for Guam? How do you address that? It kind of seems like it's not exactly proper. Hello? Oh, yeah, so I think we'll try and call John Ananich a little bit later. I don't know. I think there should probably be maybe a separate line, or maybe there is one.
But the cell phone is the number that's listed on Facebook?
On Facebook, if you go onto Facebook, and I think you popped it up there, the cell phone is listed as the contact number.
Is there a landline?
I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, I just figured, I just looked on Facebook and tried to follow up. We'll try and get John Ananich. I'm pretty sure he's listening. They did say he would call back yesterday. Not sure if that happened. And we'll get Sergeant Dan on because, veterans issues pretty important. I did, though, also research, if we could pop that up as well, the CVAC and whether or not it was registered as a nonprofit on Guam as per the congressman in his address. And according to Reverend Tax Director Daphne Shimizu, who checked on that, it is not registered as a nonprofit. So, and we'll get Dan on and talk about some of the frustration these veterans are feeling. I mean, this has been an issue. Veterans, no matter who the congressman is, definitely feel like they're just not getting the time of day. This is a group about, and I've said this to a couple of veterans, about as cuddly as a porcupine. You know what I mean? They're very frustrated with, the lack of support, the lack of attention, the lack of action on veterans issues. So.
Right, and I don't think it's just exclusive to CVAC. We do have a Veterans Affairs office as well.
Right, and so it's just, I thought it was an interesting parallel as our former director of the Veterans Affairs Office has resigned and is now running for senator. Right, and we haven't heard really anything out of the Veterans Affairs Office other than stuff about the cemetery, right? There was a town hall earlier this year with some big-time congressmen, right? And I guess we'll just follow up on that. Yeah, but so veterans, I mean, it's lacking all around. You're right. It's not just with the CVAC. We didn't see much out of, Fred Berdalio at the Department of Veterans Affairs, and we aren't seeing much out of the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council. So I think it goes all around, this inaction on all fronts, whether it's the administration or the congressman. Just really frustrated for our veterans. We'll take a break, 7:20, and come back with Daphne Shimizu, the director of Rev and Tax. There's so much to catch up on over there. They just came out with a release about driver's licenses, and they're changing up the hour, so we'll get Daphne on to talk about that. Coming up next here on the KUAM News Takeover of Guam's favorite. Good morning.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
We're all in this together, and that means we all need to continue to do our part.
Now, we've all done an effective job of containing COVID throughout the Marianas, but we need to continue to maintain to stop the spread.
We can't let our guard down. Each and every one of us are soldiers in this war against COVID-19, and every day is a battle.
It may sound hard to believe, but combating COVID requires us to hold the line every single day by continuing to practice social distancing, wear a mask, and wash your hands.
If there's anything we've learned these past few months is that things can change within hours. We can wake up in the morning hearing there are 0 positive cases, and by the time we go to sleep at night, we can see a spike.
That's why we urge you to please continue the fight, not just for yourself, but for your family and friends.
We can do this together.
Let's all stay ahead of the spread.
This message is brought to you by the KUAM Care Force.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's.
Good morning, 723. Containing COVID. And we have Rev and Tax Director Daphne Shimizu coming up. They just put out a release here.
Right, they're going to be opening on Friday, July 3rd. I believe that's a holiday, but they're going to be opening because so many people have been requesting and in need of driver's licenses and Guam IDs. So again, they will open Friday, July 3rd, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. for driver's licenses and Guam IDs. It's only for those which expired between March 14th and March 31st. As for picking up permits, scheduling operator, chauffeurs, and motorcycle written exams, also you would be able to renew them on Friday. The release also goes on to say that Guam residents should be aware that for their driver's licenses and Guam IDs, which expired from March 14th through August 31st, all late fees will be waived as long as renewal is done by September 4th. In addition to the waiver of fees for these licenses, Guam Rev and Tax is also given an automatic extension for those licenses from August 31st as long as renewal is done by September 4th. So we're going to post something, I believe, on social media to get the word out, because that is a lot of information. And so you know the time frames.
Right. We'll bring on Daphne. I mean, Daphne, first of all, good morning.
half a day, Chris and Sabrina, and half a day, Guam.
Good morning.
You know, I'm glad you came out with this release because one of the number one, I mean, it was just way up there, at least top 5 questions we got during this whole pandemic was, how do we renew our vehicle registration? How do we renew our driver's license? I mean, this is when we were on full lockdown. People were asking about this. So I guess first question, did you guys anticipate that the need for these types of services would be so great?
Well, you know, we knew that we would have a great need, but I think we didn't anticipate just kind of the volume of people that would be willing to come in and I guess on these times. So, you know, as you know, we were open the last 2 Saturdays. And, you know, the first Saturday, our team was actually here. We left past 7. I was at the stoplight right here by Conwood, Erlita Electric, that heads up to Catholic Social Services. When I was leaving, I was there at like 7:28 p.m. So our team was here 2 Saturdays ago, probably since around 5, and we didn't leave until past 7. And you know, there was such a huge volume of people 2 weeks ago, you know, and so that last Saturday we were probably able to service about the same amount of people, but we worked to try to improve upon, you know, the ways that we set up the lines and the way that we were, you know, kind of moving things a little bit more systematic, and we were able to. My team says that we were able to service about the same amount of people, if not a little bit more, but we were able to leave by or close by 4. So, you know, we're continuing to kind of get better. But, you know, of course, what has happened is because, you know, of this large demand, you know, 2 weekends ago, I think we had people here before 5. This past weekend, some people were saying they were here at like 3 in the morning or even earlier. And so, you know, and then, you know, of course, we had to turn some people away. And because we don't want to turn people away, we're really trying to just, you know, be a little bit more systematic and, you know, carve out a portion at a time. And so that we prioritize, of course, those people who, you know, were not able to renew and expired during the pandemic, during the time the public health emergency was called. So that's why we're doing this in this way. You know, but yes, there's a huge demand. In addition to this, though, and I don't know if you recall, we also had an online scheduling issue where, you know, of course, it wouldn't allow online scheduling to go past 90 days. So we've also been able to lift that. So I've actually checked it, and if you get onto our website and you try to schedule an appointment, there's a section toward the mid-right portion of our page where it says schedule an online appointment. And so now if you need to schedule an appointment, and of course, you know, we're really trying to focus on those people who have had driver's licenses that have expired. So for those people who have licenses that have not yet expired but are going to need to be renewed soon, you know, I suggest that you please get onto our website and work to schedule. And again, I tried to go all the way up until December, and I saw that there were openings still. And although I am seeing like, so we have a color coding. If it turns red, it means that it's getting to the point that it's a calendar, and on each day it's color coded. So if it's green, it means there's obviously still that slots that are open, and if it turns red, then it means that you know, of course, it's starting to fill up. And so, you know, I suggest that people, you know, really work to get on. But, you know, we thank everybody for being patient. We're really trying, and again, you know, we're doing our best in the next week as well. It says it on our media release, but we're going to be, you know, of course, opening up some more stations so that we can work to service on a walk-in basis. But, you know, again, after this Friday, we're going to reassess and just to make sure, again, you know, that, you know, we're going to be carving out portions of the population so that way we identify and we have only those, you know, we work to prioritize those. So we don't have the information on that yet, but we will. Probably over the weekend we'll issue a release so that way people will know. But, you know, we're doing our best. We're just trying to, again, work to try to get these licenses and Guam IDs for those people who have expired, renewed, and, you know, and service our people the best we can. So, again, you know what, thank you, Sabrina and Chris. And, yes, thank you so much for working to put it on social media. We really need to get the word out. You know, we were meeting yesterday, and actually we've been meeting over the last couple of days just really to strategize, you know, to figure out how we can serve our people. You know, we want to open up, you know, the net and make sure everybody can come in, but at the same time, you know, we recognize that, you know, and we don't like to have to, you know, turn people away. And it's really disheartening, I know, not just for them, but also for our team when we have to let people know, I'm sorry, you know, but we've already reached kind of the capacity and we're not able to serve. So, you know, again, in an effort to try to improve, you know, we're taking this route. And again, we're continuing to adjust, you know, as we go along.
I did want to ask, isn't there a deadline coming up? I think the 15th to file tax tax returns?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right,
Thank
but
you,
still.
Sabrina. So July 15 is the deadline to file your income tax return. April 15 is normally the deadline, but of course, because of the public health emergency that's happening across the nation, back in March, the IRS did issue a release that stated that, you know, the IRS themselves would be extending the deadline because of this, you know, an anomalous situation. So, you know, of course, we follow, and yes, the deadline for filing your income tax returns is July 15. You know, historically, we've gone out to the malls and had satellite locations there. We're not intending to do that, and you know, we don't have the capabilities and the people to do that. And also, you know, of course, as you know, we did open up, and I was calling it kind of a single transaction line, but you know, our team's calling it the easy line. So, you know, at the left side of our building, if you're facing our building, we have a line that's strictly for filing of income tax returns only. And so, you know, you can come here, and, you know, I suggest and recommend that people, you know, come and try to file beforehand. Otherwise, you know what, you can actually file an extension online. If there's a need for you to file an extension, you know, sometimes people are still not able to gather the information, you know, by the time the due date comes. So if you need to file an extension for whatever reason, you can actually file that Form 4868 online. So if you go to myguamtax.com, you can register there and you can file your extension. You don't have to come in to file your extension. So, you know, again, for those people who, you know, to help so that people don't have to come in, you can do many things online. And but, you know, you're right, Sabrina, July 15th is the deadline. It's the income tax filing deadline. So, you know, we're anticipating that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be coming again to our office here in Barrigada for that.
Are you already trying to figure out how you're going to accommodate? I mean, if you think the line for licenses of motor vehicle registration is long, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a monster line.
Well, you know, I mean, I think that because of the EIP program, you know, and people wanting to file their returns, you know, of course, we're seeing, you know, more and more people file their returns. But yeah, you know, thank you, Chris, because you know what? So even as we have been going through this public health emergency, as we have been going through the process of operating during this PCOR 2, you know, we've also, again, been working to adjust. Some things we've had to do, and you'll notice probably if you pass by our building in the morning, is we have cones that are set up outside so that way people know they can make a right turn only if they leave the building from our main entrance. And, you know, the other things are that we have, you know, actually had to, you know, not open up our parking lot until a certain period of time because, you know, again, it gives us the opportunity to make sure that there is some level of order when people come in. You know, when before we did this, and of course we did this at the recommendation of GPD and the National Guard, but before, you know, when we left our parking lots open, what was happening was, you know, we had people not only parking in our parking lot, you know, of course, very, very early or very late at night, but we also had people who were already beginning to form a line. And because of that, it caused a lot of confusion. And of course, if somebody is here very, very early, you know, and they're not able to, you know, be in the line at the time that they, you know, are expecting because they're earlier than other people, then that causes problems. So, you know, we open up at 8 in the morning, but, you know, our team, I believe we open up our parking lot around 7. And that's, you know, that's for safety also. And it's also to make sure that, again, you know, we are able to manage the lines and make sure that they're orderly and make sure that people are serviced and, you know, first come, first in, first out, right? First come, first served.
But
so that's what we're trying to do.
Will you guys still have the Dropbox?
Absolutely, Sabrina. So we do have a Dropbox, and our Dropbox, you know, has been open throughout the whole time. We actually, even through the public health emergency when we were shut down, we did have people coming in on a daily basis, making sure that we, you know, that we check the Dropbox. You know, and historically what we've been doing on the eve of April 15th is we have actually had somebody here all the way up until like midnight. So we make sure we close the box actually exactly at midnight and that people, you know, when they come in, if they, you know, because people do still try to come in like, you know, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 8 in the morning the next day before we open, I guess hoping to still try to make the deadline. You know, so historically we've had somebody here all the way up until midnight just to make sure we close that. And then we isolate those that are coming in at the actual deadline. And then I'm expecting that will happen. But yes, we have a Dropbox. But again, I know, we've had to take some measures as well because of course, we had, some of the canopies that we had borrowed from our mayors, and I believe, I'm not sure if it was our National Guard, they were stolen. We haven't had that problem again, although we did have a situation afterward where our team found that some of the ropes were cut on when we came in one morning, we found some of the ropes that were cut on the canopies for the canopy itself, the tarp. Mm-hmm. And perhaps that was maybe our team believes that in anticipation of somebody trying to come in and to steal them later. So they were trying to prep for that. We've been fortunate that, of course, our Guam Airport Police, who are close by, and our GPD, they've been working to help to police our area so that we don't run into that problem. But of course, when we close up our parking lot, it makes it a little bit difficult for people, of course, to drop things outside of business hours when our parking lot is closed. But we do still have a drop box here.
Okay. We do have a question from one of our viewers. It says, where are the stimulus EIP checks for 2019 April filers? The federal government from the U.S. provided more than enough funds, and we keep being dodged by agencies. We have been waiting too long.
Okay. Well, you know what? So we did issue a media release, I think, in the last week that indicated, and thank you for that question, and thank you to that listener for that question, because there are a lot of people who have questions about why I don't have my EIP check yet. And so what our team did was we did come up with, some potential reasons why. Of course, there could be a processing issue. It could be, you had received you may have had a check, but it was not received because of an incorrect mail address. There might have been, if there was no check process, there could be a Social Security issue, could be eligibility requirements. It could be, of course, what happens for those filers who file a non-filer form. Our system actually cross-checks against our database to make sure that people who are listed do not, either they're not claimed as a dependent on somebody else's return, or they are not, they have not filed another type of return. And so, there are many different reasons why, and so we suggest people call us. Thank you as well for asking. So finally we have launched our portal, and so you can actually get onto the myguamtax.com website. Mm-hmm. We do issue a media release on Monday. Normally we issue our updates on the EIP on a Friday, but we had our budget hearing and several other things happening Friday, so we were a little bit delayed. But on Monday we did issue a media release about our opening of our EIP payment portal. And so, people can actually, if you have a question about whether or not you have a payment or your payment was processed, you can go to myguamtax.com. It's a little bit of a different process than what is involved with IRS. For Guam Revenue Tax, we've actually made it so that you actually have to register in order to be able to access the portal. And so that way, there's an additional bit of a security measure. And so once you register, you can get in and you can go ahead and you can check the status. And what it'll tell you is if you have had a payment processed, it will indicate the date the payment's processed and the check number. If you haven't had a payment processed, I believe it'll advise to contact us, or it'll advise that there's no information at this time. And then, of course, it's interesting because we have run into people who, there are also letters that were mailed out. I don't know if you recall, what's required by the CARES Act is after a check is processed, then, we're required by law to send out mailers to advise people that a check has been paid to them or sent to them. And so what we're seeing is that some people are coming in and they're saying, I have my letter, but I don't have my check. And so, that's another security, measure. So, those people, and it could be for many reasons. It could be it's lost in the mail. It could be, it was returned for some reason, but, those are, again, triggers. So but we do have the portal already, so you can go log in online and make sure that you do that. But I will, make sure that you can check that. But I will share with you and with our people it is really, truly, honestly, a very huge priority for us to pay. I will share with you, our team wanted to make sure that we could get as many, processed returns in as possible so that we can make payment this week. I was here a little bit after 6 last night with one of our administrators because we wanted to make sure that we were able to process payments this weekend. We're committed to paying. We make payments every week, and we're continuing to process returns for the purpose of paying. So again, we thank everyone for their patience, but we are committed to paying, and we've been committed to paying since the beginning, and we'll continue to do our best to help our team, help our people. I'm sorry.
Do you have a number of how many people who have, like you said that there was this letter that went out? Sorry about that. Do you have a number of how many people have came to DRT or called and have said, hey, I got this letter, but I don't have my money?
You know what? I don't have a number on that, but I know some people personally, like some family members who, they've received the letter, but they haven't received the check yet. And so for those individuals, what we request or what we recommend is that, of course, because a stop payment has to be made on the original check so that it could be reissued, what you can do is you can come to our office so that way you could fill out the stop payment form. And you actually have to come physically because you have to fill out that stop payment form because that stop payment form has to be transmitted to the banks. In original form, right? And so, for those individuals, if you could please come into our office and we'll do our best to serve you as quickly as possible. But, again, the stop payments have to be made so that those are reissued. I don't have the number on that, Sabrina, but I do know that it is happening. And I do know, and it could be for, again, we don't know really why. Again, I have some family members as well that I know, they get their mail, they got their letter, but they didn't get their check. And again, it's really difficult to say. And so, but that is happening. And, we're doing our best to remedy it. And we're working with the Treasurer of Guam and DOA to make sure that those checks get reissued.
Mm-hmm. We are getting quite a few questions and concerns about the status of tax returns.
Okay. Sure. And with regards to tax returns, or refunds.
Refunds, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. And so with regards to refunds, of course, DRT is charged with making sure that we make payment in line with the permanent injunction, which requires, that those payments be made within 6 months of the deadline or 6 months of the due date or 6 months of the date filed, whichever's later. And as I mentioned before, you can always go to the GuamTax.com website or the MyGuamTax.com website, and we have this golden box there that indicates where we are in terms of payments. Of course, DRT, we must make sure that we stay within that 6 months. And I believe that we are, as of June 22nd, we were on January 28th, and we paid about almost 4.9 million. Before that, of course, as you know, January 27 was the first day that we began to receive 2019 returns, and I believe we had paid out a little bit over $8 million a few weeks ago. So, the numbers that we're seeing are a little bit larger, but, of course, we're continuing to work to pay. We do work in conjunction, of course, with the rest of the fiscal discipline team, and in particular, of course, the Department of Administration, because, they really manage the cash and the cash flow. And so, again, our charge is to process, and, we're committed to continuing to process so that, when funds are available, then those get, paid out as soon as possible. And, of course, again, that's all, done in coordination with the rest of the fiscal team, and DRT is working and committed to continue to paying and processing.
Yeah, we spoke with Senator Amanda Shelton earlier this week, and she was telling us that she was going to be meeting with you regarding her bill, which lapsed into law, creating this MENGOFA program. Can you provide an update on that?
Sure. And so, of course, we actually were just in receipt of that particular what lapsed into law, and so our team is going to be meeting with Senator Shelton. Actually, our team has a meeting today.
Okay.
And we have not met yet. Okay. So there are still some items, of course, that we have to review here also and work on our systems to make sure that we can process these. With regards to Senator Shelton's bill, and we'll give an update once we're we are ready. But we do have, of course, Reverend Tax has, as I understand it, 30 days to to come up with rules and regs that get transmitted to the legislature. And so, our team is already, we met yesterday. I have a team that's already assigned to work on the rules and regs.
I want to fix stuff with that.
And so that's, of course, we're working on that. But do you mind if I just share a few of other pieces of information from our Monday release?
Mm-hmm.
So on Monday we did, again, we issued a media release on our EIP. It was our weekly update on how much we processed. To date, or as of June 25, we actually had processed $126.04 million in EIP program payments, and that's about almost 69,000 payments that have been, mailed out or sent out to our people already. And we're going to be processing payments again this week so that we can get those to Treasurer Guam to transmit or to mail out. We did also indicate in our media release on Monday that there is a deadline for the filing of the Form EIP-NF. Now, Reverend PAC has until December 31, 2020 to make payments on the EIP. And so for the EIP-NF, we have a deadline of October 15. So for everybody who files an EIP-NF, a valid EIP-NF, and they're eligible, those payments. We're actually, again, the deadline to file those so that you can get payment by December 31 is October 15. So, again, we wanted to just make sure the community knew, and that's something that what we do is we align with the IRS as the IRS issues information. Then we also, do our best to work to align. The IRS themselves as well has a deadline of October 15 for the NF portal, or for the non-filer portal. And so we also have an October 15 deadline for that Form EIP-NF. And so I just want to let everybody know, of course, again, thank you, Sabrina, and thank you, Chris, and thank you to your station for continuing to, be committed to get this information out. We thank our people for being patient. We're doing our best every day to try to get these payments out. And it is a huge, hugely important. As I mentioned, we were here past 6 o'clock last night. I know I left my administrator here late last night. He had to work to prep the information so that we can process payments today. We're constantly having people that are working on it again, making sure that we're doing, making sure that we're getting these payments out. And we're going to continue to do that, and we're committed to do it. And we appreciate as well, Chris and Sabrina, your listeners, their concerns and things. And so, please feel free to share with us any questions and concerns.
We did have, sorry, Daph, there was another comment here. What is the 2019 tax refund payment schedule? Can you post on Reventax website? Are you guys able to do that? Or what is the schedule?
So with regards to a 2019 tax refund, like a schedule, again, that's something I don't have. Generally, and if you look kind of historically, of course, this past Berkeley, and I think prior to our administration, what was happening was, of course, there wasn't real consistency in terms of when payments are made. And of course, payments, are made based on cash availability. Right. I don't have a payment schedule. Again, payments are made in conjunction with of course, information as we work with DOA. Right. Now, again, we're continuing to pay. We're working to pay out as much as we can. I know Director Byrne, makes sure that, they work to maximize the amount of payments that we can make to our people. Not only are the EIP payments priority for us and our administration, of course, the payment of refunds to our people, most especially, during this public health emergency, is a huge, hugely important to us. So, I know, again, we're continuing to work to make payments as soon as possible, but we don't have a payment schedule.
Okay.
But I do have to say, though, if you notice, like I think in this past year, and I think I've mentioned this before, we've done our best to make sure at least we give weekly updates. And as we make payment, again, we update our website so that people will see that.
Well, thank you, Daph. We definitely wanted to get you on this morning. It's going to be our last show of containing COVID, so we wanted to get you on. You got so much valuable information. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
I didn't know that it was your last day. Thank you for getting me on your last day. But you know what? Thank you, Sabrina and Chris, really personally, for really just doing such a great job. I honestly really enjoy listening to you guys. I think you're so very, super sharp, Sabrina. I love, how quick-witted you are. I've always admired that. But the other thing is, I think, what's great about what you do is, you bring out some really important issues, but you're also able to add to the humor of it. And I think, most especially in this time, it's so important that we're able to add some humor to some of the things that are happening, only because, and I'm personally not very good at telling jokes or things, and I think I've mentioned that to you. My sister says that when I'm done telling a story, I have to say the end because I'm done. And so, but my sister, Sabrina, kind of reminds me of you because she's very quick-witted.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of tell her something and she's like, got an answer right away. And I am not that way. My mind is such that it, kind of has to kind of analyze everything. Mm-hmm. My husband says I'm an overthinker. But I do want to just, again, say thank you for your commitment to get the information out. And thank you always for, kind of, making sure that I get on to get out this information.
Yeah,
I really, really appreciate it personally, and I want to say thank you and kudos to you for this whole COVID-19, thing that you guys did. It was really, I think, very helpful to everyone.
Thank you,
thanks,
Daphne. Is this the end?
You know what? The end.
There you go.
Tell Dana I said hi, by the way.
Wash your hands, okay?
Be blessed and healthy, and have a great day.
You too, Daph.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah. Yeah, it's our last day. It is so. Someone messaged me, say it ain't so, it's so. They're probably having champagne for breakfast at Adeluke. They're right. Popping bottles, yep, We're going to do a press conference the next 2 weeks. We're going to have 2 press conferences a day now that they're out of the picture. Pesky, meddling COVID-19 containing COVID, Chris and Sabrina. Sorry, Dustin.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, you know it.
We'll be back.
Yeah, So, there were so many comments. Thank you, guys. And honestly, I feel guilty. Mm-hmm. I really feel guilty. I've been struggling with it. I feel guilty because it's not just part of you guys' morning routine. I'm living for this so much. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I wake up at 3:30 a.m. and I'm ready to go. I want to come in. I'm like, hey, I'm singing on the way to work. I got that fire again, So, yeah, I feel guilty, but and there was a lot of comments. It's so sudden. Just a little insider baseball here. KUAM, we're a small company, and in order for Bree and I to take a break, we got to consider like all the moving parts of this small company, and how when we take a break, everyone's workload is going to increase. So we kind of had to figure out when can we do it. It was like we could do it now. So.
Yeah, we've kind of been moving around the day when we were going to decide to take a break, and I think we finally just committed to a day.
Right.
And so,
well, it wasn't this day. We actually were. I was like, hey, the filing deadlines, or you were the filing deadline. We wanted to just do the day after the filing deadline and kind of go in on who filed, but. Then John Fernandez, they had a big press conference to the Department of Education. Yeah. Also, there's information about rev and tax. And so we're like, oh, looks like we're going to work Thursday. And we will have Superintendent John Fernandez on at the 8 o'clock hour. There's a lot of info about the schools, and this could be a long one, really key for you guys. If you could stick around and listen in, maybe share the broadcast for any public school parents out there. Let's keep it on the phones here. We want to bring on the Minority Leader, Senator Talatay. We just really want to catch up with you before we go on break, Senator. So thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
I'm so sad. Good morning, Chris, and good morning, Sabrina. And yes, I'm so sad because, as the minority in this legislature, the majority of any kind of information, I listen to you guys to get that information. Even documents, I'd have to call you guys. Say, hey, can you guys pass it over to the minority side so we can find out what's going on too? But I greatly appreciate everything that you guys have done, and I'm sorely going to miss you so badly. But I hope that if I can get your cell number, because I know the news doesn't stop.
It doesn't,
and
yeah.
we're still in a COVID. The news will continue to go on. Watch KUAM.
Right. You guys are in great hands. We really have the best team. We put the best players out there on the field every day, and just proud of this team.
Yeah, and I just want to recognize that too, because you guys are at the forefront, but it takes a great group of people to give the support that you guys need to put out this information.
I'm just so proud of our team. I'm going to get emotional here again, but from Tomas Manglotnia has been doing some valuable work in the Commonwealth of Northern Marianas Islands. You know, we kind of had a voice there with our previous partners, but he is just really...
They're still our partner. But,
yeah, he's kicked it up so much. So he's stepped up tremendously. Nestor Lecanto, I mean, just going back with these press conferences, I mean, Nestor was just on it, and he's a veteran reporter. And this is the time, the pandemic, where he just really put all that experience, you know, he put it all out there, you know. And then Adriana, I mean, who hasn't been a fan of Adriana asking these like dagger questions in the press conferences?
Well, yeah, there's so much behind the scenes of what you guys are doing, and,
I mean,
it's such a successful show that you're putting on.
I mean, it's Bree and I out here in front of the iPad and on the radio, but I mean, there's a whole army here at KUAM that's standing behind us. Of course, Lacey, our digital team. Our sales team, our management, just fully supportive of us doing this, and I mean, we wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, I tell you what, you know, everybody needs a break. You don't want to get burnt out, and
that's not the issue at all. We're not. I can keep burning.
Okay.
I got lighters for days.
We just got plans in store and some changes that we're making, and I mean, this is goodbye to containing COVID, but it's the beginning of something else.
Amen.
So you're going to have a line of people standing by waiting for you guys to come back on.
Well, that's good. We're excited.
To hear you up. So I hope it's done with rest and family. You know, you definitely need it.
I got to ask you, because we haven't had a chance to bend your ear about this reshuffling, the resignations, the retirements that are going on in the administration. Just wanted to really get your take on it, because there was a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit. And you know, it is what it is. I love that when you say that, Sabrina. I picked that up from you, but it is what it is.
I can't take credit for that.
Unfortunately, that's our gov that coined that one.
Yes, it is what it is, right? No, but I think, like any administration, you know, after the first year, there is always some moving around and adjustment. You know, so for me, it's not too alarming. What's alarming is how some people are not let go, you know, who are not doing their job.
That's why I wanted to get you on.
You know, I can name a few. You know?
Right.
But that's the only part. It's not really that much to be concerned about.
So who did you think was going to go that hasn't gone?
Well, Janela, number one. You know, I mean, that's really what happened, you know.
It's a crazy world we're living in, Senator. Crazy world.
I'm really surprised, you know, that they had, I mean, this is a director of communication to have something out like that. You know, I mean, I feel bad for her, but, you know, she should have thought of that when we started videoing, you know.
What about the policy director, Carlo Branch? What's your take? Did you think he was going to be one of the guys to go? Because there were rumors that he was, but he's still there.
You know, yeah, but
I don't think they can afford to lose him.
He's been very quiet lately since we had that procurement oversight hearing.
Right.
And, you know, he was trying to be, you know, the dictator.
That was so funny.
Yeah, it was really funny. I think there was a big mistake on that end. You know, I mean,
why would they let him in there? He got nothing to do with anything. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that was the problem. You're letting somebody in there that
and trying to answer for people. That was just nuts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But,
but I want to recognize Carlo, because he's doing the governor's social media. I don't know if you listened to us yesterday, but I had sent a FOIA to the governor's office trying to find out how much money they're spending on social media advertising, because if you go on the governor's Facebook page, there's like over 50 different ads that, you know, they pay. Well, I thought they paid for it, but the response we got was there are no documents relative to not a single piece of paper.
Wow.
Social media spending. So I spoke with Janela. I said, what's up with this? I'm looking at Facebook ads right now. And she said, oh, Carlo's going to call you. So Carlo called, and then he explained that he's paying for all of the governor's social media spending out of his own personal pocket as a donation to the office of the governor. And so, but if you look at the ads, they all say paid for by office of the governor. I just thought that was kind of weird.
Well, that is kind of weird, because if I'm not mistaken, aren't there rules and laws governing any kind of donation to a governor's office to AdLoop? There is some kind of rules and regs.
That's what, and he said that
can only, like you can't receive any kind of. Well, I'd have to I have to look at
Yeah,
that.
research that. But you know,
definitely.
I mean, but I got to give him props, because it's very selfless of him to donate to an administration so already rich.
Probably because he's getting paid a whole lot.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's like, hey, we're going to pay you 80 grand or whatever, but minus 5 for social media advertising.
Right.
So
By the way,
on that note, let's jump into your bill. You got this bill that we saw.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to take too much time since it is your last show for a while, and I know there's a lot of people who would like to get on before me, but basically it's a bill that was introduced by myself and my co-sponsors, is Treat Terlahi, James Moylan, and Joe San Augustine. And this bill basically is to clear up any loopholes that the governor feels that she has the authority to spend unappropriated funds or excess revenue from the general fund. And, that you've got these two articles, Article 9 that creates a rainy day fund, and then you have another article that's in Article 4, which talks about the amount of being appropriated in a rainy day fund. So basically the red flag on the field happened when, in December, remember when we all started putting out bills from the excess revenue from FY19, right? Yeah. And of course, one of mine was the roads. I've always been advocating to repair the roads. And it was then that around February where the governor mentioned that she was going to use this excess revenue for any shortfalls in 2020. And then it was in the media, several media outlets, that she announced this. And I was thinking, wait a minute, what gives her the authority to do this? Right. To spend it. So I sent a letter to her office and asking, where is it cited in the law that allows you to do this? So she cites Article 4, 22436, which talks about the cap on appropriating money into the rainy day fund. And it talks about certain tax refunds, EITC, prior year obligation, vendor obligations, but it doesn't really say it has to be appropriated by the legislature. But however, in Article 9, which creates the rainy day fund, it's clear that it says the legislature must appropriate any funds coming from the rainy day fund to pay for prior year, to pay for all this. Right. So there's the loophole they found to put their hand in the cookie jar and start spending that money. So what this bill is going to do is make it clear, very clear in the section that they cited, both her and the Attorney General. And what's ironic, I just wanted to see what would happen, but I sensed the opinion from the governor's office.
Maybe the problem was it was from the former legal counsel. Faulty. It was a faulty opinion.
Probably. Yeah, it was, because I didn't get I got a response from there in February. I think it was February or March. But I sent this opinion to the same thing that they cited to Leave and Camacho, just to see if they were going to cite the same thing and everything. So they did. They cited the same thing as the governor's
lockstep.
office.
That's what you call lockstep.
Yeah, but according to our legal opinion at the legislature, no, it doesn't give her the authority. But it is inconsistent in the law. It gives them that loophole. So what my bill will do is clearly make it clear that you cannot go into the cookie jar and start spending this money, this rainy day fund, without legislative approval, which was what it was created for in the first place.
Right, and wasn't there a law or something with the from Senator Terlahi that's $10 million for the hospital? That was
exactly
right. And then did they ever get the $10 million?
No,
they didn't. Yeah, that's absolutely crazy that our senators can pass a law giving $10 million to the hospital, but the governor can just decide that she don't want to give it, and that's that. Isn't that crazy? Just the disrespect of law. It's nuts.
It's not only a disrespect of law, but where is the teeth in it when a governor is using funding that she's not allowed to use or using spending? Where is the teeth in that? Is it slap
where's
in
the
the
teeth
hand?
with the AG? I mean, it's just like, yeah, go for it, Gov. Take more.
Exactly. And there's nothing in there to take this. Now, I did have a good conversation with our legal department, and that is to be able to, this bill, if this bill has a public hearing, Chris and Sabrina, then this bill is going to call them out and find out where, because we can't get any answers.
Right.
How much money is in the rainy day fund, Mr. Byrne? Well, he said there was zero back in, I think it was February or January. There was zero. And then all of a sudden when they came back, there's $3 million, and they've taken money out of the rainy day fund to pay for tax refunds.
Senator, let me get in real quick. We're KUAM FM, Agotni, Guam. It's I-94, Guam's favorite, the KUAM News Takeover, the last show of Containing COVID. It's Thursday, July 2nd. Good morning to our viewers on KUAM TV 11 and our viewers on KUAM News' Facebook page. That's an Edward R. Murrow award-winning social media network. Also, there's a audio stream, Docomo Channel 10, and on the line now, we are checking in and breaking bread with the Minority Leader, Senator Tello Taitigui, who's talking about a bill she has that would put some teeth in. Well, go ahead. You say it best.
Yeah, it'll clarify the priority of this account that's created, the Rainy Day Fund, and also the priority of what or who has the authority on any excess revenue. It all boils down to who has the authority to spend or appropriate any money for this excess revenue. Because FY19, they said we had 27 million, then it said 23 million, now it's 17. And we're waiting for BJ, the OPA, to issue out his report on the excess revenue. And I'm still waiting for that, but he just announced that there's been a delay again because they're waiting for Guam Housing Authority to submit some documents there. And it'll show, according to his audit report, will show how much excess revenue is in there. But, you know, it's obvious that both these bills, Article 4 and Article 9, the creation of the Rainy Day Fund, which is Article 9, clearly states that the legislature must appropriate any excess revenue. However, in Article 4, it just talks about the cap, how much is in there and what it's going to be spent for. So it's contradictive. And this, I'm hoping this legislation will clear it out, because we're sure not getting any answers there. And my hope and pray that anybody listening out there, if you know the record of us, our Republican senators who issue out legislation, introduce bills, sometimes our bills don't even go to a committee. It stays in committee of rules for months and months before it's even given to a committee chair.
Well, guess what?
Here.
No more rules chair.
Point of personal privilege.
Point of personal privilege. The rules chair is out the door.
Do you think you're even going to get a public hearing?
Rules chair is out the door. Point of personal privilege.
So I'm asking the public, because it's obvious that the public does have the power, and people have to realize that they do have the power. They have the power on voting.
We got the power.
Oh yeah, sing it. Don't get me started.
I need to get a part-time job as a singer.
But you know, they do have the power to call your senators, to send letters, to go on the media, to talk on your show. Hey, you know, let's hear this bill. Let's hear what's going on. Let's finally get to the bottom of this bill. And will it come down to a declaratory judgment? Will it spark an oversight hearing for the Department of Administration or the governor's office? Well, this legislature, which is majority Democrats, they need to have some oversight. They need to ask the hard questions. Yep. They need to go out and tell the people of Guam accountability and transparency is what we are. And we're not seeing that. We are not seeing that. Until the senators start having these oversight hearings on the spending of their tax-paying dollars, we're not going to know anything, and it's going to be slipped under the rug. You know, we're doing what we can and pushing these bills and trying to find get the transparency out to get the answers answered.
Well, you know what, Senator? There's so many things under the rug, it looks like a mountain.
It does. I can't get my vacuum over it. You know, it's just what the, you know, so I'm asking the public please to help, you know, and your voice is so important. It was during COVID. You guys, every time a subject matter would come up, we would get emails, you know, from constituents and the people, the community reaching out and saying, yeah, well, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to be a part of this community. I might not be a senator or, you know, or a governor or anything, but I'm going to do my part. And my part is to write that email to say, yes, let's have an oversight hearing on the spending of this excess revenue that's been going out. Find out whose hand is in the cookie jar. That should not be there.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, well, thank you, too. And I so look forward to you guys coming back. And if there's anything else you need from me, please send all your research team. And again, kudos to the people behind the scenes who've made this program such a success.
Thank you so much, Senator. Wash your hands.
Care.
Okay.
Will do. Wash hands,
Okay.
feet, and everything else.
Okay. Yeah, you guys, don't forget to wash your hands while we're gone. I hope you remember. Who's going to tell you to wash your hands?
We'll make some PSAs.
Yeah, we will. It's 8:09. We're going to take a short break. We're coming back with the superintendent of the Guam Department of Education. You guys want to listen to this, especially public school parents. A lot of info coming your way next on the KUAM News Takeover, Guam's favorite, containing COVID. Good morning.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
We're all in this together, and that means we all need to continue to do our part.
Now, we've all done an effective job of containing COVID throughout the Marianas, but we need to continue to maintain to stop the spread.
We can't let our guard down. Each and every one of us are soldiers in this war against COVID-19, and every day is a battle.
It may sound hard to believe, but combating COVID requires us to hold the line every single day by continuing to practice social distancing, wear a mask, and wash your hands.
If there's anything we've learned these past few months is that things can change within hours. We can wake up in the morning hearing there are 0 positive cases, and by the time we go to sleep at night, we can see a spike.
That's why we urge you to please continue the fight, not just for yourself, but for your family and friends.
We can do this together.
Let's all stay ahead of the spread.
This message is brought to you by the KUAM Care Force.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
We're all in this together, and that means we all need to continue to do our part.
Now, we've all done an effective job of containing COVID throughout the Marianas, but we need to continue to maintain to stop the spread.
We can't let our guard down. Each and every one of us are soldiers in this war against COVID-19, and every day is a battle.
It may sound hard to believe, but combating COVID requires us to hold the line every single day by continuing to practice social distancing, wear a mask, and wash your hands.
If there's anything we've learned these past few months is that things can change within hours. We can wake up in the morning hearing there are 0 positive cases, and by the time we go to sleep at night, we can see a spike.
That's why we urge you to please continue the fight, not just for yourself, but for your family and friends.
We can do this together.
Let's all stay ahead of the spread.
This message is brought to you by the KUAM Care Force.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
It's not always easy trying something new. Sometimes you have to help your loved ones along. Nana is so used to her weekly trips to the bank that going online can be a little scary for her. But her grandson knows that banking online is safer and easier, so he's teaching her how to get started using Bank of Guam's online banking videos. Teaching is one way to show our loved ones we care, keep your family safe at home, and show them how to bank online. Find easy-to-use online banking tutorials at bankofguam.com or on our Instagram and Facebook pages. Bank of Guam, member FDIC.
Be healthy. Be informed with IT&E.
News Takeover of I-94. Good morning, 8:16 again, and we're all proudly brought to you by Cabo Enterprises, Ambrose Inc., IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam. It is the last show ever of containing COVID. It's been, it sounds so cliche to say it's been quite the ride, but it really has. There's been ups, downs, side to side, all over. I mean, we've done it all here on this show, and just know that we're not going away forever. We're just going away for now. Okay? We're coming back bigger, better, more committed than ever. And it'll be happening sooner than you think. Okay? It's 8:17. Man, busy guy. The man of the hour pretty much is the big press conference yesterday. And there's just a lot of info to unpack about the reopening of the Guam Department of Education's public schools. So we'll bring on the superintendent, John Fernandez. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
I guess we just want to. I just want to give you the floor and take it away. A lot of parents are listening. We put out the call for the public school parents to listen up to see what the superintendent has to say. So, big press conference yesterday. Just take it away, John. What do people need to know?
Yeah, I mean, it was good to get to the press conference yesterday, which really marked the announcement that the board of education basically gave its approval to move forward with the reopening plans for the school system, and now the work begins to really implement and to continue communication with our families out there to let them know what exactly is going on. So, yesterday was only the beginning of what we expect to be a continued outreach and communication and explaining what's going on this coming year, and really answering a lot of the questions and concerns that people have. So I just want to start up by saying this, right? Safety is absolutely the primary concern that I think all of us have in this community, not just for the schools, not just for our kids, but our entire island. So that's really our mindset as well. So I just want to assure everybody that this is not about schools reopening no matter what the public health situation is. Mm-hmm. In fact, public schools are not going to reopen without the governor assessing and declaring that the P-Core conditions are absolutely safe, for us to begin that reopening process, and nor are we going to go forward without the Department of Public Health reviewing and signing off on our plans. So what we basically did, though, was we wanted to be ready that when the green light is given, when we're given the signal to go, that we have that plan in place, and that we've already explained it and enabled all of our families to kind of understand what's going on and to make preparations for the school year, knowing that it's going to be abnormal, it's going to be disruptive in some ways. It's just going to be different because we're responding to a very unique event, being the COVID-19 pandemic. So I want to just start with that. There's no way we're going forward without, the authority to do so, and that authority means that our public health situation has to be right for that step to take place. The second thing is, we know that the COVID-19 is not gone. We know that we're going to probably be dealing with this health situation in one way or another, trying to continue to contain the pandemic over the next year. So as we go into the school year, we're going into it knowing we have to make adjustments. So I want to just say that up front, because people wonder about how this is going to be implemented, the quality of education that will be received, the safety of our school facilities. And so we want to recognize that, yes, it is going to be absolutely different. A lot of things are going to have to change. We're going to all have to be flexible and adaptable. But I think that I would start by saying our priority is to get back to daily classes, get back to that face-to-face interaction between our teachers and our students. We don't believe any of this is going to fully replace the value of having kids together back in school, with their teachers, with their friends, with the staff. There's nothing that's going to replace that. The situation, though, is we have either an option of doing nothing, saying, educate your kids completely at home, or let's figure out if there are opportunities to develop options for kids to return to school, but do so in a safe manner. So the three options that we're giving to our families for this school year, at least while we're under these COVID-19 conditions, is to go ahead and pursue 100% home learning with our support. That could either be under option 1, online, or under option 2, if you don't have access or equipment at the beginning of the school year, to be able to be provided the hard copy lessons that will be there until we're able to provide the necessary equipment and access. So those are the two options for being at home. Otherwise, if you wish to come and participate in more traditional learning, meaning coming to school and being a part of a class with a teacher, physical teacher, then that's going to require us to go into an alternating schedule, because we're only going to be able to accommodate about 1/3 of our student enrollment at any one time, at any one day. So that's where we get into this schedule of 1/3 of our school children coming in on one day, and then spending 2 days doing home learning, and then coming back on an alternating, fourth day. So those are the three options. What we're asking, and what we're going to be asking our parents to do is before we get to the start of the school year, to make that selection, work with their school to identify their preference. That'll help us organize ourselves based on the number of students who choose any one of those options. So that's those are basically that's basically the framework. I think with regard to safety, yes, we are following CDC guidelines. Yes, we are working with public health to approve everything, and that includes input from the Physicians Advisory Group for the governor, and that'll include temperature checks at the entrances. It'll include hand sanitizers in every classroom. We're looking at plexiglass to protect and plexiglass and frequent cleaning of high surface areas, and of course the physical distancing in the classroom and around the school. So a lot of adjustments are going to be made at the facility level to abide by these safety parameters. And until those safety parameters change, we expect to continue them, again, with safety at the forefront. And then I think the last component I want to mention, because there are really three pillars of our approach, which is the distance learning, safety, and the third one is that I want our employees and our students and families to know that we recognize that the last weeks, last months have been very traumatic and disruptive. We don't expect anyone to come back to school, whether you are a teacher or whether you're a student, to come back to school and just say, okay, let's get back to let's get back to work on day one. I mean, we'd like that to happen, but we know that many families, many of our students and workers have gone through a very traumatic situation. Probably experiencing the economic impacts of what we're going through, and also being isolated, being at home, being disconnected. So we plan to spend a lot of time over the rest of the summer and into the first weeks of the school year, focusing on the mental well-being of our students and making sure that we let them know that we're transitioning back to the school year, but we want to make sure you're okay before we get fully back to work.
John, could we? It's weird getting a bunch of calls about the uniforms. Can you just kind of go in on the uniform policy that'll be in place when we do go back to school?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I think we did something similar to this this past school year when we had the dengue fever outbreak, and because of the medical situation, the need to protect yourself from mosquito bites and so forth, we had to relax the uniform code and make sure that we didn't penalize students for uniform violations, because what we wanted to encourage is for them to cover up and wear clothes that would make sense during the dengue fever that situation. This year, this is more related to the fact that our families that we recognize are going through this situation with people who've lost jobs, people who've been furloughed, reduced hours, and so forth. And we want to recognize that as we come into the school year, what we don't want is to have the cost of uniforms be prohibitive to students just coming back to school and forcing families to make choices about food and bills and now uniforms. So our chairwoman, Ms. Gutierrez, really did lead that effort with the board and asked that the uniform policy be suspended for the year. Right. And so what that means, because that did get the approval of the board, it means that uniforms are welcome, they're encouraged, but they're not required, meaning that we are not going to discipline students for failure to wear their uniforms. All schools will continue to have a dress code. It doesn't mean it's a free-for-all that you can wear anything you want. We want to make sure those high schoolers know.
Right, no spaghetti strap.
No spaghetti strap.
No, what are those, Daisy Dukes?
No Daisy Dukes.
So, exactly. So there is going to be a dress code that will be enforced, but there won't be the same requirement that you have to, purchase the uniform to, be able to be in compliance with your with our policies. So the dress code's in place. In fact, I know there are a lot of students, a lot of parents who are going to opt to choose that uniforms anyways.
Right. We just got a call. I got a call from a parent, and she was like, "Can you ask him because the uniform policy?" And I was like, "What about it?" And she was like, "They're not going to use uniform." I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "But I want my kids to wear the uniform." So I said, "Yeah, you can. They can, right?"
Let's make that really clear. My kids are probably going to go in uniform because it's easier for me as a parent. And I know exactly what they're going to wear every day. It's just a matter of making sure it's ready. So, but we know that if those who have to purchase new uniforms, there might be students transitioning, to another level, to another school. We don't want to make the uniform an issue at all. Right. So I know that that was the board's intent. But again, we recognize and we encourage. I mean, I know a lot of our administrators do support the uniforms being worn. So I do think that those students who want to wear uniforms, those parents who do want to wear uniforms, yes, we definitely welcome and encourage that. It's just we didn't want to make it an extra financial burden. And on top of that, like I announced yesterday, is that in the same vein, as part of the use of our federal funds, we're putting aside $2 million. We were focused on distance learning. But what we also decided to do was just take $2 million of those dollars, those federal dollars, and use them to just enable the teachers not to have to send those requests home, those lists of supplies that students need to bring to help out in the classroom. So we're saying, look, instead of sending out those requests for classroom supplies, let's just make sure we can use these federal funds for this purpose. But I'd like to set aside about $2 million of that and just use that to buy classroom instructional supplies so that the teachers don't need to request that of families at this time.
John, I wanted to follow up on something that you touched on a little bit earlier in your opening regarding the need to gather input from parents about the different options and which one they would prefer. And I know that you guys have the Parent Guardian Survey, and the deadline actually is, I think it's tomorrow. Right. If you could kind of just go over that and where do people go to participate in the survey?
Well, I know the survey's been sent out by a lot of schools to their parent networks, but you can also go to our website to access the survey. And to be honest, I mean, this is going to happen several times probably through the course of the next few months, because I think in addition to those, in addition to introducing, what it is that we were trying to accomplish with our recommendations, we really want to take the pulse of our stakeholders with regard to how they felt just about coming back to school at all. And so if you what we're seeing from the preliminary information is that, I mean, the numbers are very high when you talk about very strong support for the safety policies. I mean, the message coming across very clearly from parents is that the ultimate, priority has to be safety. And then let's worry about teaching and learning once we have the safety parameters in place. So I think that's where we are today. And of course, that's because we're coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. We're still monitoring and waiting to see day by day whether they're going to be more positive. So people are very uncertain, very anxious, and I agree with them. Let's be safe. Let's not rush, and let's err on the side of keeping students and employees safe. But you never know, 2 months, 3 months down the road, whether that will change, whether people will once they're back to school or we were in operation, that parents may feel more comfortable with students coming back physically to school. We want to make sure we pay attention to that. One thing we weren't able to do, but we do plan to do for future surveys is make sure they're translated as well for all of our parents who to participate. It's kind of hard during the summer to do all of that and to reach all of our parents, but we do want to do this on a regular basis to make sure we can keep our finger on the pulse of our families and how they feel about being safe, because it's not really about following guidelines. That's only part of it. Right. We need our community to feel safe, to have that confidence.
Correct.
That things are as they need to be.
John, we're getting some comments here about the attendance policy. Can you tell us what attendance policy will be in place moving forward?
Right. So I think part of that will have to be worked out, but I mean, definitely the signal from the board was that we have to relax the attendance policy, which basically, is assuming that we have a physical attendance in class. So that's a policy, and just same thing with instructional hours, the uniform requirements and so forth that the board suspended. So what that means is that they will give us the flexibility to set some parameters as to how we want to look and measure attendance and bring it back to them for consideration. But there were definitely going to need to be changes to these policies, recognizing that not everybody is going to be required to be physically at school. So that'll take some additional work and communication when we get to that point.
We do have people asking about when and if students return to school, is masks they're going to be mandatory? Are there going to be temperature checks?
So yes, to the temperature checks, we are currently procuring the supplies and equipment needed to do temperature checks at every school. And the other piece about masks, I mean, that's been a debate. We're definitely monitoring the guidance. At this point, masks are required. We're going to have to pay very close attention and to see whether that needs to be modified or refined as it relates to our younger students. Also, our students with disabilities or those who just may, for some reason, medical reason or other reason, be unable to wear the cloth masks or the masks that are recommended. We're looking at the options of face shields and other things. So at this point, masks are being required. And I think what we learned from what we're learning from the pilot program in the Japanese school, and as we survey our parents, is that that's part of the safety requirements that parents expect, right? So there is definitely a feeling that masks should be part of the solution, but then we recognize that there are parents who are going to be absolutely sure that their child or other children of that young age may be able to do that all day. So we're going to have to work that out with schools and teachers as to we've been talking about what does a mask break look like. We do have to we do recognize that we're going to have to give some kind of relief, but also maybe face shields or other types of measures that might be appropriate when we get to that point.
I also noticed in the release that you guys sent that you're working or there's a request to seek action from the Guam legislature regarding the high school service learning requirements.
Right. So both of those service learning and instructional hours requirements were waived for this last school year, and we anticipate that we may need that waiver again this coming school year. There are students out there who've already indicated a concern about being able to meet the service learning requirements when the opportunities to go do service learning may not be readily available, and when they're when they're encouraged to be staying home and not going out. Things like, a lot of our kids really got a lot of hours from things like the coastal cleanup. Right. Mm-hmm. And so you can imagine an event like that where, will that even be possible, this coming September or whenever they would schedule that, because I know that involves a lot of people getting together and working together to clean up our island. But at the same time, we're now in a situation where that's not possible yet.
Mm-hmm. What about discussions, and I know I always ask this about school bus transportation?
Yeah, so, what I would say is, what I've told my team is, yesterday was the showcase. This is all the work we've done to plan, to seek the approval of the necessary authority to move forward, and yesterday we were able to announce it. And then from today on to the start of the school year, it's all about implementation. It's all about working out the details and communicating them to our stakeholders. So we really are at this point, now that we have the approval of the board, are going to have to sit down with Public Works and work out the details. I mean, we did get early, and they have been apprised of our progress and part of those discussions. But, we got the basics. They were going to do social distancing. We need to talk about, how to communicate when kids feel sick, or how they're going to, get to school and how they're going to get dropped off. We can work those general things out, but now we have to look at the numbers of kids that we expect to be at school at any one day. And most likely have to even do it on a route-by-route basis, because, some of our routes may find it easy to accommodate 1/3 of the students on any day. But as you go north, and as those routes become more, more heavily utilized, there may still be issues there that need to be worked out. So that's where we are now. We got to get into the nuts and bolts, and that might be a route-by-route discussion at the end of the day. So that's next for us.
Okay. We had a comment here. How about those students with disabilities? Are they still having the one-to-one aid?
So that we're actually today, and I know you'll excuse me, I have to leave about 8:45 to prepare for a hearing at 9. Yeah. That will focus on students with autism, and then talk about a school opening. But as part of these discussions, I definitely expect to hear these questions about what happens for our students with disabilities and the services that they're to be provided. What we're really going to have to do is work together with the parents, the school staff, and our trained professionals to review the individualized education plans that each student has. Every student, in order to receive services and the appropriate accommodations and modifications, really has all of these things outlined in an individualized plan. However, under the executive order and under these safety parameters, we're really going to have to understand how to deliver these services in this context. And of course, these services are very individualized to the needs of every child. So what we need to do is, and what we're planning to do, is put in place a process in which we can revisit every student's plan and make the necessary changes as needed, or go forward as is, depending on that child's needs. And that may then result in having to make sure that the schedule for that student being physically present at school is accommodated and taken care of. So I don't really know at this point how all of that will sort out. We are still committed to serving the needs of all of our students, but that's really going to come down to those individualized discussions to see what makes sense. Because as you know, some parents want their kids back in school. I mean, this is for any parent, right? Traditional parents, mainstream parents of those students with special needs. Some of them all want their kids to be able to go back to school and have that regular routine. And some parents are still scared of saying, I don't want to get anywhere near a school facility and other children and other adults until there's a vaccine. So I'm expecting that those conversations will still be present when we have those individualized education plan discussions. And we'll just have to work through that collaboratively with our parents.
Okay. Anything else, Bree?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. John, I just wanted, before we let you go, hold on, let me grab that. Could be my mom.
So how often are you going to be, I know that you guys did your Facebook live stream yesterday, and what's next after deciding or the approvals that were given by the Guam Education Board yesterday?
So there are 3 areas of focus now in terms of moving forward with the implementation. Number 1 is going to be very school focused around safety. I envision a lot of school visits taking place over the next several weeks to really work with administrators to understand their safety plans, how it will work at their school, because every school is different, and so we're going to have to really understand and make sure that we can support those administrators in keeping their community safe. So that's the safe schools, safe facilities is one area. The other area is there's going to be a lot of training that needs to take place, right? We're making such a massive shift towards distance learning, so we're going to continue to focus and offer that support to teachers, to administrators, to ensure that we're able to make those shifts and in a way that we can guarantee and improve the quality of education that kids receive. It's not simply a matter of shifting from a real classroom to a virtual classroom. There are so many differences in delivery of instruction that have to be taken into account to ensure that we're able to provide support to all of our kids and families. And the other training piece is the mental health and wellness training, which is going to be provided to our administrators and our staff at this stage over the summer. They've been through a tough situation themselves, having to prepare for go through the pandemic, but also be charged with leading the recovery efforts at the schools. So we want to talk to them about how they can also support their communities at the schools in terms of identifying signs of distress, students or our fellow employees in need of services, and have the toolbox ready to screen those individuals when they come into campus as part of our mental health approach to that transition. And then the third thing really is communications and outreach. We just definitely need to spend a lot of time. We're really thinking about how best to reach our parents and our students in situations where physical meetings are not as easy to pull off. And so we're still working through that plan because our effort is to be able to answer some of the basic questions that parents have at this point, and we know that that communication is needed. But it sure is different from saying, okay, we're going to have a meeting at UP Elementary, anybody and everybody show up. We can't do that as much and still get the word out. So we're going to look at alternate ways to do it through social media, virtual meetings. We may have physical meetings as well. We just have to sort that out.
Before we let you go, I wanted to ask about, for parents out there that they're nervous and not sure they want their child to return to school, but they don't have the resources to buy a laptop or an iPad to do distance learning, but that's what they want to do, and they don't have internet or Wi-Fi. What's out there for them?
So right now, I mean, we're talking about what happens on day one and what happens later on in the school year, right? So we know that on day one, that will still be an issue for many families. We anticipate and estimate about 30% of our families are going to be in that same situation, or even if they have connectivity, it's not reliable connectivity. It's not they're going to have to share use with other people, so it may not be convenient to do online. And so hard copy lessons and supports will be provided. As well as contact with the teacher for every student and every parent will be provided as part of that first phase of this. But we are working to purchase laptops and tablets, additional laptops and tablets to be able to lend out to students who need the support. So as soon as we get a handle on the numbers of people opting for the different modes of learning, we'll get a better idea of how to plug those gaps in terms of the equipment needs, the computers themselves. We're looking at opening up our schools in some fashion to be able to support those students who are able to come after hours or over the weekends to be able to access being online. And then, so that's another option. And then we want to work with, we're working both with our mayors and the governor's office to be able to expand access to the internet. So what we've talked to the mayors about is really figuring out whether we can utilize some of the spaces in the villages or to identify our areas for hotspots to provide Wi-Fi access or internet access for families in the villages. And I know that we're working with the governor to and our internet service providers to get some ideas of other strategies to be able to plug that internet access gap. So on day one, the options are you either have those resources available now, we'll offer home learning and hard copy lessons to you if you don't, or you can participate in the traditional alternating schedule. But as we go along, we do plan to provide equipment and support internet access for those families who are not online. It's just that we won't be able to do it on the very first day.
John, I know you just got a couple minutes left, but do you feel like the options that you guys have presented for parents fully take into consideration that some parents are working, some are not, and need to have someone watch the kids? I just got a comment about that. So
yes, absolutely. That's another thing on our mind, and of course that's not just for it applies to DOE employees as well, right? So we know that many of our teachers who are teaching these schedules also have kids, and they're going to have to figure that out because they've already expressed their concerns as part of that. And so, as an employer, we're trying to figure that out, how to be flexible, how to recognize that this is a situation that we hope will be temporary, but is definitely necessary if we're going to return to any kind of operation. And so we're going to look at our policies and what we can do to accommodate, those situations as a DOE employer. What we also plan to do is find time to reach out to other employer organizations and kind of help let them know what exactly is happening on our side. So as part of our communication efforts, reaching out to people like at the Chamber of Commerce, for instance, and talk about the needs for flexibility on their end, and to really hope that they can be flexible and accommodate the needs of the families as well. We know that the economy is going to be slowly and hopefully positively steadily recovering over the next weeks and months. But an important part of that is to be able to reopen our schools. So again, they have to go hand in hand, and we have to be flexible and adaptable and work together if our island is going to recover as a whole. So we can't. The economy can't recover if our schools can't open, but our schools can't open until we're safe, until we're able to really make sure the kids are not going to be in jeopardy. And if we do this together and work hand in hand and communicate, then I think hopefully we can find the solutions to help those parents navigate the next few months.
All right. I know you got to go, but I again just wanted to commend your staff and yourself for just really being there in so many ways during this pandemic. I really feel like the Department of Education was definitely one of the shining stars. I mean, and all that you guys did with grab and go, with trying to secure the commodities. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to thank you, John. I really appreciate the work that you and the department have done.
No, I appreciate that, and thanks, and we'll pass that along to our employees. I think they really do deserve it, and I don't really get a chance to touch base with them every day to make sure they're doing okay, especially those who are still on the front lines. But we know they put in a lot of effort to try to support the community, and we definitely do appreciate their work.
Right, and we've been I've been praying. I know Bria has too, praying for you guys as you were making these decisions, because it's such a huge deal, and to know that, like you said, the safety is the priority. I think that's important, and thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for getting the word out and facilitating the communication. And we're going to just continue to do that, reach out to our parents especially. And I always think that it's better to be prepared and have time to adjust than to hear things last minute and to hear these plans last minute and not fully thought out. So hopefully, we'll continue to welcome input, and we'll do our best to improve our plans. But at the same time, we want people to know what's coming, and this is our effort at this point. This is what we have. So we're going to go forward and continue that communication.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
Wash your hands. Okay.
Have a great day, guys.
Okay. Bye.
8:47. Let's keep it going on the phones here. We're really close with Major Tom of the Salvation Army, and as you guys know, he's left on to his next assignment. And so we wanted to bring on a couple that has it's going to be a difficult task to fill Major Tom's shoes, but we'll bring on Captain Eric and Captain Carrie, the new Salvation Army heads here on the island. So good morning, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hafa-adai. Welcome to Guam.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful.
So we'll just start at the beginning. Eric and Carrie, the new captains here at Salvation Army, just take us back. What assignment did you guys come from before you hit the island of Guam?
We just spent 3 years in Seattle, Washington,
at divisional headquarters, and Eric did all of the youth for the division, and I did all of the women's ministries for the division. So, but we are just so excited to be here. It's so different, and they're so kind. I mean, it's nothing like we've ever experienced before. So we're having a really good time.
Are you guys the one? Did you bring this rain from Seattle or what?
I think we might be guilty, yes, but
sorry about that.
Not the sunshine though. That's a foreign concept.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, when you got the word that you were coming to Guam, were you like, were you familiar with Guam, or were you like, where's that? Or
Absolutely, yes. Actually, we served in Leeward, Hawaii for a summer, and but we had friends. Ted Horwood years ago started the work of the Army here in Guam with Hurricane or Typhoon Omar, I think, and then the Harmons were familiar with Linda and Dave.
And Dave, we're actually coattail relatives with Linda and Dave.
So we talked to her last week, and she told us all the people to meet and all the places to go. So we already feel like we are kind of home.
Can you tell us what type of response and what was the work that you were doing recently in Seattle? Was a lot of it COVID related?
We have shifted to COVID, yes. Everything was repurposed, and we kind of went into disaster mode. And so every Salvation Army facility went and tried to find ways to make meaningful impact in their communities. So we've been up. Perhaps you're familiar with CHOP and some of the things that are going up in Seattle. We walked around up in there, and some of our friends were handing out water and just supporting both sides. So it's been an interesting process this last few months.
Mm-hmm. You guys just got here, what, a couple days ago?
So
you guys must be in quarantine, right?
Yeah. So we're looking forward to actually experiencing the island after the 2-week quarantine.
Yeah.
What a welcome present.
Good things about it.
We hear good things, and I can see the sunshine, but I want to get out and enjoy some of that blue water, because we came in at night and it was dark. So I'm very excited to go and see the island.
We have friends back in the mainland that are like, send us pictures. We're like, in 2 weeks. We will.
That's good to hear. You know, during the pandemic here on island, we saw record numbers for the Salvation Army, and it was really heartbreaking because Major Tom had talked about the middle class and how the middle class are the number one supporters of the Army in terms of donations, both monetary and food, and he was saying those are the people that were coming for the help from the Salvation Army. And so the pandemic, the economic impact has been devastating. So
it has. It's normally we deal with folks that are marginalized, that are without homes and without jobs and things in here. Now we have people coming in, and there's actually, they're saying, I'm sorry, I normally donate and I normally help out, but I need to be a recipient. And that's what we're here for. That's our whole goal, is to help people in need.
Is that what you saw in Seattle too?
Yes, same thing across the board. All the corps, the churches are seeing populations that they've never seen before. In fact, like Eric had said, it's the folks that were donating to us, and now they're in need, and so we're privileged to be able to help them out.
I think it's a good thing, because it just reminds us all that we are really connected to each other, and we need to support each other. So whether we're having a good time or a sour time, we can come together and help each other out.
How has this been different than the disasters that you guys typically respond to?
Well, we've been in Southern California, so we have dealt with wildfires and earthquakes and riots and that kind of stuff. So this kind of natural disaster is a little bit different. I think it'll be a whole different level.
And like we said, just the whole idea of seeing a different population is certainly different, not only for us, but for the folks that are coming in. And we're just realizing that the need is so much broader with COVID right now.
Mm-hmm. Have you guys got I know a boots on the ground from quarantine, maybe assessment of the status of the Salvation Army here on Guam yet? Maybe the inventories with the food banks and the thrift store?
You know what? The food bank continues to go full guns. I guess right now, as of the 8th of June, we're over 4,700 individuals have been helped.
Right.
Over 1,100 families, and so that's good. People are in need, and they know that they can come and get some support. Now, we were at the thrift store the other day, and because of COVID, they've had to close down for 2.5 months, and sadly, they've lost some income there, about $70,000. But we understand that it's a process, and we're going to work through this, and it's a long solution, I think.
And we're excited to be here. The Stambaugh have done some incredible work. We've spent some time. We've known the Stambaugh for years, and we spent a lot of time on Zoom with them. And we just hope to be able to fulfill their shoes and do what it is to, continue on in the work.
Can you just tell us a little bit more background about yourselves and how you guys became a part of the Salvation Army?
Certainly. My husband is actually a sixth-generation Salvationist, so we joke that when you cut him, he bleeds the colors of the Salvation Army flag. But we came into Salvation Army officership later in life. I was a banker, Eric was a graphic designer, and we realized that the Lord was calling us to the Salvation Army, to serve in the Salvation Army. And so we went to seminary, and we served for 10 years. We've been in Southern California, which is actually home, in Burbank and in Santa Monica. In Burbank, we served a congregation of undocumented Hispanic families. And so that was all about family and community. It was a beautiful time.
Great.
In Santa Monica, we had a congregation of about 160 folks that were unhoused, because Santa Monica is sort of the mecca for homelessness. And so that was a time of 4 years that absolutely transformed our hearts. And then we went to Seattle, and now we are in Guam. And we hear that we get to stay 3 years, but we asked our divisional commanders the other day, hey, if we want to stay longer, we get to, right? So we're excited. We're just excited to be here.
What are some of the things that you hope to accomplish during your term here?
With the Lighthouse Recovery Center, we're very excited. With the we're going to break ground on the new women's program,
right.
And so we'll be able to. I think they're talking about a dozen spots for women in our recovery center as well.
And we want to continue the work that Tom and Kim have been doing with COVID. We're looking at the church as well, and we want to work on that. And Tom really did a great job at building a foundation and a strong team at the Salvation Army. And so we feel really blessed walking into an operation that is running like a well-oiled machine.
Carrie,
can I just offer up? It's so nice to have community support.
It's lovely.
It's a wonderful thing, and we're just so blessed. Thank you for being kind to the Army.
Well, thank you for having us.
Right. Carrie, we're just reading an article here, a national article that talks about, there's a great quote here from you. You used to be a bank manager, and you'd said something about serving two masters.
Oh, yes. We didn't go into seminary training school
until we were 40.
Until we were about 40.
Wow.
And so we wanted things. We wanted to be able to own a home and do all that. And so we were serving two masters. We were serving our Lord, but we were also serving ourselves. And it doesn't work. It didn't work for us. And so we realized, yes, we need to go to the Salvation Army training school. We sold our home, we sold our cars, we sold everything that we owned, and we just surrendered.
And it's been a wonderful thing.
It's been so rewarding.
Right. It also says, Carrie, that you were a baby who was left on the steps of an orphanage in Seoul, South Korea.
So knowing that, Carrie, how important is it for you to do these work for these families who are at risk and in need?
So important. I think about where we are in relation to Asia and some of the human trafficking that's been going on, just the marginalized, the need that's going on, and it touches our heart. We had the personnel secretary actually call us and say, hey, we'd really like to send you to Guam. Why don't you think about it for 4 days and then give me a call back? And so we prayed about it, and my husband knew within a day that this is where we were meant to be. And so for me, it's very much like coming home. Very much like coming home.
Well, we're excited to we do a ton of stuff with Salvation Army, and we're excited to get to know you guys and go down into the trenches with you guys. And I'm excited that Captain Eric, you talked about the Lighthouse Recovery Center, because Guam is being ravaged by methamphetamine addiction, and there just aren't enough services for those, and opioids, and for those people who really, really need that helping and guiding hand.
It is. It's a devastating thing, whether it's alcohol or ice or meth people need love. People need support. Sometimes we get caught up in stuff that's beyond ourselves, and we just need someone to walk alongside us. That's what we're here to do. We're not any better than anybody else. We're here to just love and support and walk alongside.
In Santa Monica, we were there for 4 years, and we worked very closely with our adult rehabilitation center. And so we're very familiar. We love recovery ministry. We love loving people where they're at.
I love seeing families come back together
Yes.
whole.
Yes.
And so through that recovery process, we get to see mothers and fathers and children become whole units again. So that's my joy.
Well, Eric and Carrie, it's definitely just our pleasure and our honor to be able to talk with you today, and can't wait to meet you in person. Stay safe in quarantine.
Yeah.
And again, welcome to Guam.
And wash your hands.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. God bless you guys.
Okay, you
All right,
too.
take care.
We'll see you. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay.
What a story.
Yeah, that's...
I know. It's like, keep it together. Keep it together.
Keep it together. Left on the steps of an orphanage in South Korea as a baby. Captain Carrie Rudd, and
She was a banker, and he worked for a publishing company in California.
Yeah, we're looking at that article, and she's got a quote there: "You cannot serve both God and money." That is what I have come to learn. So, very good, and welcome to Guam.
Yeah, can't wait to actually meet them. You know,
Right.
because then they do have some tough shoes to fill. Man, they went back to the Harmons.
Yeah, that was made me feel a little older there.
I know.
Right. Oh, they didn't join the ministry until they were 40. That's still very young. So
It is, definitely.
No, that's very young, right? It's 9 o'clock. We're KUAM FM, Agatnia, Guam, on the last show of Containing COVID ever. It continues next after this break. Good morning, Guam.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Can do together. Respond to the 2020 Census of Guam.
We are all in this
Every
together, and that
response will
means
help
we
Guam
all
get the
need to
resources we
continue to
need
do
for
our part.
healthcare,
Now, we've all done an
education,
effective job of
emergency
containing COVID
services,
throughout the Marianas,
infrastructure,
but we
and
need
so
to
much
continue
more.
to maintain to
These
stop the
resources
spread.
are critical
We
to the
can't let
growth
our
of
guard
island
down.
for the
Each
next
and every
10
one of
years
us are
and beyond.
soldiers in this war
We
against
cannot do it
COVID-19,
alone.
and every
Together,
day
we can
is a
make
battle.
difference.
It may sound hard to believe, but combating COVID requires us to hold the line every single day by continuing to practice social distancing, wear a mask, and wash your hands.
If there's anything we've learned these past few months is that things can change within hours. We can wake up in the morning hearing there are 0 positive cases, and by the time we go to sleep at night, we can see a spike.
That's why we urge you to please continue the fight, not just for yourself, but for your family and friends.
We can do this together.
Let's all stay ahead of the spread.
This message is brought to you by the KUAM Care Force.
I know you're out there about to settle on a donut and drive around all sticky-handed, raspberry jelly all over your sensible blouse. Well, this is an intervention, a chicken intervention. Because McChicken biscuits and chicken McGriddles are now at McDonald's, freshly prepared and available nationwide. So just make that turn, hit the drive-thru, save your favorite blouse, and change your life.
Be healthy. Be informed with ITD.
Keeping you informed, KUAM News brings you Banking 671, brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, and Coast 360 Federal Credit Union. Together, we thrive.
KUAM News COVID-19 Takeover on I-94 FM is presented locally by Ambrose Inc.
COVID-19 and the need to social...
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
And creativity aimed at giving life to our community and dreams.
We're all in
for a
this
more
together, and
just
that means we
equitable
all need to
future.
continue to do our part.
Now, we've all done an effective job of containing COVID.
Driving round, windows down, warm breeze and a soulful sound. I got my mind made up about where I wanna be. Can't nobody take my home from me. There is no place like home. Saying goodbye to how gone. And I'm proud of where I'm from. Yeah, there's no place like home. Palm trees sway both night and day. Paradise, it's the only way. I got my mind made up about where I wanna be. Can't nobody take my home from me. and I will never leave you. And I will never forget, no, no, yeah. I will always take you wherever I go, so that everyone can know. There is no place like home.
Hey, good morning on you. Oh, we see John Ananich is watching. So, John, we tried to call. If you want to call in and maybe give us an update on the Congressional Veterans Advisory Council. 910, good morning. It's containing COVID. The last show ever. Like I said, they're popping bottles at Adelup. Thank God. We got a break from Chris and Sabrina. Because, you know, once we get a taste, we don't let go. Hey, it's all proudly brought to you by Ambrose Singh, Cabo Enterprises, IT&E, Coast 360, and the Bank of Guam. Grr. Let's do it. Let's take a dive into the day's COVID-19 headlines from the KUAM News team with the very latest. Good morning, Sabrina Salas-Mantanani.
Hafaday. Good morning, everyone. The number of positive COVID-19 cases has gone up, according to the latest numbers released by the Joint Information Center last night. Out of 369 tests ran by Public Health's lab, 4 returned positive. This is on top of the 10 positive cases reported the day before. We won't know any information about the 4 new cases until later this afternoon. However, as of for the 10 yesterday, according to Public Health's situation report, 2 of those cases tested positive at Public Health's lab and were identified through contact tracing. 2 cases tested positive at DLS. 5 cases tested positive at the Department of Defense. None of those 9 cases reported contact to a confirmed case. Now there's 1 case that tested positive at the Guam Memorial Hospital, and that case reported household contact to a confirmed case. The SIT report also indicates there is 1 hospitalization. 4 of the new positive cases are women, 6 are male, 5 are from northern Guam, 2 central, and 2 from southern Guam. Public Health Situation Report is updated weekdays at around 1 p.m., and we will have an update on our social media platforms at that time as to the 4 new cases reported overnight. Additionally, the Joint Information Center announces they will no longer provide nightly updates of confirmed COVID cases, but rather, in an effort to align reports, they will report cumulative COVID-19 test results in the afternoon when the results from the various labs are reported to Public Health and when the situation report is released. For now, the total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases on Guam is 271, with 5 deaths, 179 recoveries, and 87 active cases. 225 are classified as civilians and 46 are military service members. The Guam Education Board signing off on the resolution supporting the recommendations of the District School Readiness Task Force for the upcoming school year. Adriana Cotero reports.
It's been Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting and hours of planning.
And this is what I call teamwork. We're one family.
After receiving input from the public school parents, the parent-teacher organization leaders, school faculty and staff, and with the support of the Governor's Office, Public Health, and the Physicians Advisory Group, the Guam Federation of Teachers, and the Mayor's Council, the Guam Education Board has approved the curriculum instructional models designed by the District School Readiness Task Force. GDOE Superintendent John Fernandez.
We shut down schools, and we shut down the governor shut down the government of Guam back on March 16th. And right then and there, I'm very proud of the team that came together to really focus on what DOE's role could be and should be as part of the COVID-19 response efforts, not just for our school system, but for our entire island.
Safety a top priority, and following CDC guidelines, GDOE is targeting August 11th for the start of the new school year. The basic framework is to offer 3 curriculum models for the parents to choose from. One option is 100% online learning at home, another is home learning with hard copy instructions, and the last option is a traditional face-to-face in-class learning, blended with at-home learning with students placed in alphabetical cohorts and following an ABC and repeat schedule Monday through Thursday. As for Fridays, this day will be open for parent-teacher conference time, explains Deputy Superintendent Joe Sanchez.
We want to make sure that that time is allotted during the school day where teachers are in their classes, there's a phone available, they can answer questions from teachers and students and have that done kind of on a regular basis.
In addition, for on-campus students, there will be isolation rooms and the uniform requirement will be suspended. As for bus transportation and feeding operations, the department is still working out these details. You can view GDOE's press conference in its entirety streaming live on their Facebook page. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero.
Senators got an update Wednesday from Labor Director David Della Sola on the rollout of the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program. He spent a couple of hours fielding questions from lawmakers during an oversight hearing. He said one of the most common delays with the claims continues to be a lack of documentation. Additionally, he was asked about a possible leak of confidential information.
Thank you very much, Director Della Sola, for mentioning privacy issues. And without going too far into specific private matters, I am aware of a leak of unemployment application details this week. So thank you for giving us an update on this. But if you could tell the committee how your department is responding to this information becoming public, what consequences are possible for any government employee who intentionally violated the agreements that you showed us, the agreements to keep this kind of information protected. You mentioned that they'll be reported to the AG and to an Inspector General?
Inspector General, yes.
Okay, and can you also share with this committee any investigation into this specific leak? For instance, have you seen any proof that the leak was done by a GDOL employee? Is there any evidence that points to this being the case, or how could this have happened?
Well, yes, of course. As soon as I heard that there could have been any kind of potential breach or leak or something, we quickly went down and started looking and investigating. And, you know, everybody is just so busy down there working. And nobody's aware of any breaches. Nobody's aware of anything. Everybody's just doing status quo. We keep asking. We reemphasized and we went over the confidentiality and the privacy that they all signed. We went over the possible ramifications if we do hear of any, and we even reviewed the fraud email address to see if there was any report of somebody at at my department that could have said leaked it or anything like that. We found no mention that any leaks came out of our department, and or did we find any evidence of it? But I'm not going to say that it is not possible. Anything is possible when behind closed doors and people are at home. But everybody's, I mean, like I said, we deal with tens of thousands of claims, and we haven't had one report of anybody at our department leaking, mentioning, or saying anything about any claim to the public and got any reports or complaints from it. So we'll continue to emphasize the privacy issues, and we'll continue to make sure that they are aware of the consequences. And I have faith in my team to ensure that they adhere to what they signed and what they agreed to. And I'll just continue to monitor it. But to this date, there was no evidence that anything came out of my department. To this date, there was no evidence that anything came out of my department.
Della Sola, in the meantime, says in the 3 months since they began work to stand up Guam's first ever unemployment assistance program, they've managed to pay out more than $120 million and have received nearly 33,000 claims. More than 29,000 of those have been accepted. More federal CARES Act funding rolling into Guam as the Guam Regional Transit Authority receives a $2.7 million grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Transit Authority. GRTA will use the money to support fixed route bus and paratransit service and to purchase vehicles and personal protective equipment during the COVID-19 pandemic. During a recent budget oversight hearing, GRTA General Manager Selba Balta was emotional as he discussed the issue of using a portion of the grant money to purchase up to 24 passenger buses to further paratransit bus operations and take over fixed routes. Additionally, their FY 2021 proposed budget will be used to also hire additional bus drivers. Here's
I want you to know, Mr. Chairman and Senators, that since we've taken over paratransit, we have never denied any of our people with disabilities transportation. And prior to this, Attorney Marcy Santos told me on one occasion that one of her clients was denied transportation previously, and that person became very sick and never recovered. So I made it a point to my people that we will not deny any person with disability transportation. Mr. Chairman and Senators, really. Mr. Chairman and Senators, really. We're talking about the most vulnerable people in Guam.
That's correct.
That we're transporting.
Vulnerable people in Guam.
That's correct. That we're transporting.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for making sure. Let's just take care of our most vulnerable people on Guam.
Okay.
Because there's no reason for them to be denied transportation. Not when we have them.
I feel for these people, to be honest with you.
Yes,
and that's why we're working very hard to make sure that our transit system is reliable and safe for our people.
Yes, because in the past, a lot of our most vulnerable folks out there were being denied. They're waiting on the side over at Paseo. I remember that, and I was like, wow, it's amazing. Now,
Guam and the Northern Marianas will receive about $14 million in airport safety and infrastructure grants. U.S. Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao announced that nearly $800 million from the Airport Improvement Program and the CARES Act will be dispersed through the FAA to various states and territories. Guam will receive $11.3 million for runway rehabilitation, Rota $2.1 million to install perimeter fencing around its airport, and Saipan was awarded $555,000 to improve and modify its airport rescue and firefighting building. And with regional news, we check in with our Tomas Manglonia live from Saipan. Hafide, Tomas.
Good morning, Bree and Chris. Here's the latest making news in the Northern Marianas. At a press briefing yesterday, we asked Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios, where is the governor? As some viewers and officials have questioned his ongoing trip to the Northern Islands in an effort to promote the islands with a YouTube blogger, among other efforts. Take a listen.
Yeah, Gary, I have a question for the LT that's not related to education. I just wanted to briefly ask, where is the governor? Where is the governor?
You know where he is, right? He's in the Northern Islands. Which island today? I'm not sure. We were supposed to be communicating by satellite phone, but somehow the satellite phone that was to me doesn't really work. I see that he calls me every morning for an update, but I know he's safe in the Northern Islands on this project. And you know what that project is, probably as much as I do.
And do we know when he's expected to be back on island?
The plan was, initial plan was he's supposed to be back this weekend. But, going on the Northern Islands, when weather changes on you and sea conditions or ocean conditions changes, those things sometimes take a day or two, give it a day or two before or after your schedule. arrival. So I expect him back this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
And in other news, at that same press briefing yesterday, more than 5,000 applications have been submitted in the Northern Marianas for pandemic unemployment assistance. Secretary of Labor Vicky Beneventi says she expects payments to be made within 7 to 10 days for applications marked as complete. At that same press briefing yesterday, Secretary of Labor Vicky Beneventi said, quote, "While it has taken so long, it's only been 2 weeks since the launch. 2 weeks is a long time for people who are suffering, who are waiting for a free federal benefit. I understand the stress level," she says. So when she hears those comments, I totally understand. I get it that they are waiting because they are in a situation that is very difficult, end quote. However, Beneventi also told KUAM that the Department of Labor is expecting to disperse less than 1,000 checks in the next week or so because a majority of applications are not complete. In a previous press conference, she projected the total number of applications would be nearly 10,000 applications. And the latest from the Commonwealth Healthcare Center's the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation's Public Health Dashboard, we see that since June 26th, the cumulative number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in the CNMI remains at 30 with 2 deaths. Stipend has tested so far just over 7,000 people through its community testing initiative. Meanwhile, Tinian has tested 458 people, and Rhoda has tested 564 people. Bring Chris, that's the latest making news here in the CNMI.
Thanks, Tomas. Police are seeking the community's help in locating 27-year-old Justin John Portasak, who is the subject of an ongoing stalking complaint being investigated by the Domestic Assault Response Team. Police spokesperson Sergeant Paul Tapau confirms with KUAM that Portasak is the person of interest from last week's hit-and-run car crash incident at Central Precinct Command. Portasak is considered dangerous and should not be approached. He is known to frequent the Kina Court in Totu, Agana Heights, and PD areas. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to call GPD at 472-8911. Information can also be submitted to the Guam Crime Stoppers tip line at guam.crimestoppersweb.com. Information will be kept confidential, and a cash reward of up to $1,000 could be paid if it leads to an arrest and a grand jury indictment. 2 of 6 defendants in an estimated $11 million Medicare ambulance fraud scheme will spend years in federal prison. Clifford Shoemake and Kimberly Connor appeared for their sentencing hearing in Chief Judge Francis Tedinko Gatewood's courtroom. The 2 are previous owners of Guam Medical Transport and pled guilty for filing fraudulent ambulance transportation service claims for personal use. They were indicted in 2016 along with Nicholas Shoemake, Thelma Joyner, Jared Atta, and Trevor Cruz. Clifford Shoemake was sentenced to 71 months in prison, and Connor was sentenced to 63 months. Both were ordered a 3-year supervised release term after their prison time and pay millions of dollars back in restitution. As for the 4 others involved, they entered plea agreements with the government and were sentenced to probation time. Maritzo Mayor Ernest Chargaloff suffering a pair of strokes and was taken to GMH. According to Art St. Nicholas, who was speaking on behalf of the family, an EKG was performed and indicated that Chargaloff is suffering from atrial fibrillation. He says he was moved into the ICU and is recovering well. Chargaloff will be monitored at the hospital for the next few days. St. Nicholas says that the 3-term Maritzo mayor is asking village residents for their support and prayers. In national news, Vice President Mike Pence travels to Arizona to discuss that state's coronavirus response, and the U.S. reported nearly 45,000 new cases. That is the second highest total since the pandemic began. Chris Martinez reports from L.A.
Texans waited on long lines in Houston to get tested for COVID-19.
It was about a 3-hour wait, and they ran out of tests.
Houston area ICUs are at 93% capacity. Statewide, hospitalizations are up 332% since Memorial Day. Doctors want to get the numbers back down.
My frustration is that we did it. Why do we take everything for granted?
The U.S. reported nearly 45,000 new cases Tuesday. Almost half came from 3 states, Texas, Florida, and here in California. Testifying at a Senate hearing, Dr. Anthony Fauci warned it could get much worse if action isn't taken.
I would not be surprised if we go up to 100,000 a day.
Health experts say following the guidelines work.
We know what works. We got to get everybody to wear masks. We've got to really think about indoor gatherings and whether we can afford them. I think largely we can't. No bars, no nightclubs, no gyms.
Some seem to be getting the message.
We've just decided to stay home for the weekend. We might be on the more conservative side of how people are thinking about it, but we just don't want to be out.
At least 18 states have now either paused or rolled back reopenings due to the coronavirus. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
California's governor is expected to announce new restrictions this afternoon. In your Banking 671 report, don't be intimidated by pressure, threats, or confusion tactics. Scammers often use scare tactics and coerce victims into acting quickly before they can look deeper into their lies. Never respond to threats or demands for payment or your personal information. Learn about how legitimate businesses or government agencies might contact you by visiting their website or calling a number that you know to be genuine. That's your Banking 671 report, brought to you by the Bank of Guam and Coast 360. And that is your news. And Jason joins us now.
The news, that's the last news ever of containing COVID.
Yes.
That was a historical news right there.
It's a lot of news.
Ever.
Yeah, Jay, did you check your email?
Yeah, I saw
it's
that.
Our last show.
I know. And I know there's a very fitting send-off coming up at the end, which you guys are going to want to stay tuned for.
I was wondering if you were ever going to ask, because we were all like, yeah, Jay, we'll meet you tomorrow morning. We'll meet you there at 6. Go for it.
It wouldn't be the first time someone's played that kind of joke on me. Yeah, show up to Chuck E. Cheese. We'll be there. We'll be there for your birthday party, little 12-year-old who's not at all got self-confidence issues.
Or how about, yeah, Jason, I'll go to the movies and a dinner with you. Sure, I'll meet you.
I've been there, done that. Actually, you know what's funny? Completely random.
As usual.
Yeah,
That's all we expect from you.
Since it is the last
random.
one.
Yep.
Have you ever been on a date?
Oh, my God. No, I never have.
And worn the exact same fragrance as the person that you meet?
What?
You wear like
Was it Impulse? Were you wearing Impulse?
No, it wasn't. No, it was remember when CK1 first came out, Calvin Klein 1? And everybody wore that because it was unisex? I actually went to the movies with this one girl like when I was at UOG and we were wearing like the same thing. Stink so good.
Wow.
And basically like never spoke to me again after that.
That's crazy. That should have been your pitch. Hey, girl, we get together. We save money on cologne, you know? What kind of shampoo you use? I use G. My hair smells terrific.
Do you oh man, G. Your hair smells terrific was the best.
That's when marketing was just simple, just straightforward
and colorful. And they had that gradient,
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the name of a shampoo?
G. You don't remember that?
Oh wow.
From like the 70s. G. Your hair smells terrific was the name. I mean,
No.
Can you get any more obvious about what
That's what I mean.
What the contents of a product are when
it's to the point.
Yeah. What was your jam? Let me guess. I'm saying you were a Pantene girl.
I think of Pert. I think she was Pert.
No, she's high class. She's Pantene.
Or Tresemme.
Whoa.
I just use whatever my mom and dad got.
So. No, you know what? Because I've seen you you like to eat apples a lot, I'm going to say Salon Selectives. Well, speaking of selection, as if there's any way where we can segue out of that, right?
Man, you get me, dude.
I made the selection to actually cover My Home Village show. I went up to Jigo about maybe an hour ago because
they have community testing.
Yeah, which is open now until 9 to 11. I went up there, and as of we put the pictures on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter already, so you guys can check that out. Hopefully the line has moved along because at that point when I was there about 8:15, 8:20, and the line was almost backed up to your neck of the woods. So it was around the Our Lady of Lourdes Church, like the entrance to
Gajanero Road.
Yeah, Marianas Terrace. Well, not that far in, but I mean, if you know anything about that part of the island, like in Jigo, that's about maybe a mile and a half away. But it was great to see that residents were, showed up to go get testing.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah, long line. And from what I hear, because I know some of my friends actually got tested yesterday at Mangilao's testing, and they said if you did the drive-through thing, they actually pretty much had it down to a science, and they moved you through at a pretty rapid clip.
Yeah. And there was something else you kind of pointed it out this morning on our chat about the change in which the way we're going to be getting information from the Joint Information Center.
Okay, first of all, the JIC report came in. I mean, and we're not, by any means like criticizing JIC for this, but it came in like very, very late last night. Maybe I want to say like maybe around like, I know it was after 10, maybe like 10:15 or so. And I'm the one who stays up, and I write that up so these guys can go to sleep so that they can be fresh and beautiful for the show, which, by the way, this is the last show. So I got that, and I started writing up, and the very first paragraph said, from now on, the JIC reports will come out after the situation report comes out. So that's your baby, your adopted baby, the situation report. And now the JIC reports are only going to be in the afternoon, but will include not only the test results from the Department of Public Health, but also what they get from the
DLS,
DOD.
GMH.
Right. Yeah. And then what they also report to the CDC.
Correct.
So that's going to be all like one shot, all in the
Health.
afternoon, because I mean, there's a lot of people who don't stay up that late, and
Right.
I'm sure just putting that stuff together, the people who work on this, I mean, that's a lot of work to stay up that late.
I mean, we're talking about how they put the numbers together, but the big thing is the actual numbers. This is a surge, is it not? Yeah, and
what it is that so because at night they only release the results for public health, that's what you get, right?
Right.
And then when you come in and you monitor the SID report, then it includes all the other labs. And so sometimes it gets a little confusing because you got to sort through so that doesn't apply, those numbers. So I'm talking about strictly today's SID report numbers, and it just gets a little confusing. So I could see why they would do that. But
it's
at the same time, I would want to know at the end of the day, well, how many new cases do we have? And hopefully we don't have any. And then
are they just tired of working at night or what?
No,
I would be after 4 months.
It could be like I said, it could be just confusing for the consumer, right? But
that makes it better for us because on social media we can get it out that afternoon.
It's a one shot.
If
right?
you have things planned, for yourself or your family, and you happen to see that we have a very alarming number of infections and everything like that, you can plan the rest of your day around that, which basically means stay home.
Mm-hmm.
For us that work in news where we got to get out a live television news product by 6 p.m., that means that when we go on the air, we'll have the very latest information. We can get it out as soon as we can on social media that afternoon. And I think it's the right move. It's probably a little tardy, but it was the right call.
Right. What about the recent positives though, Bree? Do you think that this is something that maybe the governor should be looking at in terms of, are we ready to start talking about rolling back anything?
Well, remember that one interview?
Because what they did is it was a 5-day rolling average, and then when it looked like the 5-day rolling average was going to kick us back and revert us to the next step back, they changed it to a 7-day rolling average. Right?
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
We're just talking about remember the formula of
the 5-day rolling average.
So we went from gee, your hair smells terrific now to back to positive test.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, Bree. They changed it to a 7-day rolling average, and now we're seeing these numbers. I mean, wow.
Yeah, it is a little concerning, and I think it was Dr. Jana who was on Dr. Jana Manglotnia who was on the show yesterday, who was who said that they are seeing a pattern, right? That they started to see the numbers peaking or positive cases going up when they made the change in quarantine and lifting some of the restrictions in terms of allowing people, to go into home quarantine, making those certain exceptions for emergency type situations. And so that's where they started to see, okay, the numbers are climbing. And then some of the cases aren't even connected to a confirmed case. So a lot of these cases aren't. What I want to know more about, though, and what I'm still waiting for information about is the DOD cases. Right. There's 5 DOD cases. And I've emailed Anderson Air Force Base, and I still haven't gotten a response. And I know that and Nestor, he was working on that as well.
It's disrespectful. The way the military doesn't respond, or, I just don't know why our government is not holding them accountable. They would be the ones. It would be the governor. Mm-hmm. But it's too much buddy-buddy with the admiral. We're buddies with the admiral. We're buddies with the general. And then when it comes time to really ask them, hey, what the hell is going on? I think because of that relationship, how it is when you're buddies with somebody, you don't really want to bring up that tough subject, but I think they need to, because we heard it from Public Health's contact tracing team, and it is what it is. I understand the military is a whole separate entity, and they got their own thing going on, but once anything crosses out into the public, I believe it's Public Health's, they have the authority, and they weren't getting the answers, and, it's just unfortunate. And we understand that by all accounts, they're saying that these airmen, and it's pretty miraculous, they didn't infect anybody. It doesn't look like they infected anybody because the time has passed.
Yeah.
They had gone to all these different establishments, and that's great. But there's still many questions that we have because they keep getting more positive cases through DOD testing.
And that doesn't necessarily mean, though, they were connected to the 22 deployed unit. It could be another
we just
unit
don't know.
that's here.
That's it. We're sitting here like...
Because I know they had the training at Anderson Air Force Base the other day. I don't know where everybody's from.
Sorry, I got a question for the both of you, and this isn't one of those weird questions, right?
Oh.
But because I wasn't here in the morning because I was trying to cover the JIGO thing. But at any point during this morning show, did you guys talk about whether the new cases may have any sort of? Did we talk to anybody in the know about whether they might be connected to the protest that went on a couple weeks ago? Because there have been these time or these touch points along the timeline.
That would, the 2 weeks though would have.
It would have been too long, right?
Yeah. What I want to know is if they're connected to GPD or DOC.
Right.
But
and I tried to get Annette. We've had her on. She's great. I mean, she's
fantastic.
The contact tracing. I mean, she knows what she's talking about. But unfortunately, she can't come on the show because she's doing her job.
Yeah. And they're really busy.
And I get it. But what ends up happening is we're sitting here. Well, we don't know what's going on. You guys are sitting there. We don't know what's going on. I think. I would expect, though, with this week that they would have the press conferences. They put out this release that they're having a 1:30 virtual proclamation signing.
And this is for liberation.
For liberation, which is cool. I mean, that is cool, whatever.
It is.
But I think people need to hear from the administration, we need to know, like, hey, what's going on? And I don't even think it has to be the governor's office to have a press conference. If they don't want to have one because there's too many tough questions flying at your face, then maybe get Public Health to have one.
And 2 days ago, when you guys had both Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and then Ray Tapazna from
they said
Gura,
that there was going to be
the very next day. So we were all geared up in the back, and we're like, all right, we're ready to roll when the press conference starts. And then they said it wasn't happening.
Right, yeah, so there is going to be a virtual proclamation signing for Guam's 76th Liberation Day, 1:30. Please let me know if KUAM is interested to be in the Zoom room. We'll also be streaming on Facebook Live. Questions can be taken post-proclamation signing, but limited to the subject matter.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's going to go over well.
Yeah.
So do you have anything to ask about liberation? Oh, yeah, with these contact tracing things.
I mean, really, though, I don't understand.
And every single member of our colleagues in the media is going to ask the same thing.
Right.
It's not just us.
And it's, how do you guys not know? How do you guys not know down at Adelup that people got questions? People are worried. People are concerned. They need to be reassured. It's kind of basic. It's really kind of basic. And if you're not going to provide that opportunity through the virtual proclamation signing, that's cute, really is. They should provide some other kind of, it's cute, but I feel like their head is in the sand. Like, no, we're just going to ignore it and it's going to go away. Didn't go away. Still here.
Which is kind of the underlying subtext of the whole pandemic, is like anything that anybody does in the world these days has consequences that affects every other person.
We'll probably get a special message or something.
Maybe she'll put out a Facebook video that Carla Branch pays for. Thank you. Jay, I want to say it's been great having you.
It has been an absolute pleasure.
We're not breaking up or anything. I'm still going to see you, but it's been fun having you on. I love it when you come on. It's quirky. It's zany. I mean,
it's great.
So with this, if we consider ourselves the Beatles, who was Yoko Ono that came in and kind of like disrupted this whole vibe?
Huh?
What?
A little bit over your head. Yeah,
no, I get it. Who's the home wrecker? No, we're just taking a break. You know this. We're taking a break. We're gonna come back bigger. Or do you? Did you get the memo? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like this is the only time I talk to you guys every day. We're acting here.
Yeah, we get lunch together and stuff. Ask the questions anyway, Rosemary writes. And really, that's what's going to end up happening. And then with the media is at this point where, you want to ask about liberation, that's cute, but we're going to ask about this. And really going to force the administration's hand. I mean, mute us, I dare you. That's how I feel we're at right now. It's like, mute us, I dare you. Come on. Muty. But it's ridiculous. I mean, no.
People just want to know. I mean, we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we didn't ask questions that people want to know about. And I mean, we're in a public health emergency, my goodness.
Yeah. And we're not, doing, I mean, liberation's great, but it's just like really not the time for puppies and rainbows and cuteness.
You know what I want to say about our people, though? Once again, and going back to when I first popped in and everything, about how many people before the GIGO community testing drive-through site even opened. Kudos to Guamanians and everything for showing up, doing the right thing, and getting tested, though. Because remember, what was it when the Istumbo community testing, they called it a pilot project for the first time?
Yeah, remember that?
And they didn't really have a lot of people show up.
They didn't. You're right.
It's because people were so scared to death that they're like, okay, if I do test positive,
I'm going into quarantine.
Yeah, they're going to immediately yank me out of my car and throw me into what is essentially jail. Linda said that's not the case. We'll do an assessment of your house and see if home quarantine is actually better.
I miss Linda.
Yeah,
I miss her too.
I miss her. She was just really accessible. I mean,
Can we she's still around.
Linda, are you okay? I feel like she's tied up in a closet somewhere with duct tape over her mouth.
She's probably enjoying herself. She's probably
I asked this question to you guys maybe about 2 months ago, right?
9 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I posed the question to you guys about 2 months ago, right? I said, and you guys just completely dodged, but I said, that point at 2 months into the show, doing it every day on every single platform we got here at KUM, who would be your containing COVID Mount Rushmore of interview people? And you kind of danced her. I would at least have to say Linda would be up there.
Oh yeah.
If you pick like the creme de la creme of people that we've had on the show as far as responsiveness, honesty, timeliness, punctuality. And just being
now, it would be
just being a damn good interview.
It would be Linda, Daphne, and John.
And who?
Those are the people
John
that
Fernandez.
John Fernandez.
When you talk about the most,
and then maybe slide in
pound for pound, right? The best calls, the most information that's crucial that people really need. It would be Linda, John, and Daphne.
Gosh,
They just
Dr. Jana though. Oh my
on Dr. Jana. I mean, yeah. She would
we can
definitely
have
be up
different
there.
lists because I want to say
how many Mount Rushmores? Because I want a Mount Rushmore of stupid.
No.
There's
like
that too.
Stupid interviews, like what the hell? Because we've had some real.
Because my
classic interviews here.
My Mount Rushmore would definitely include Mary Rhodes from GHRA.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Dr. Ho Nguyen, because he has been amazing.
He is too many. They're
Yeah.
Now that I think about it.
Yeah, you're all the best. You all get a trophy.
But you in particular, Dr. Jana Mangoni, you guys have like at least 8 or 9 different like little running gags. The whole thing about Go Raiders. What song are you playing?
She wants another 30 minutes.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, it's been great.
Okay,
it really has.
And because I take stock of this stuff, right? The containing COVID record for the longest interview. Can you guys guess? Longest interview we've ever had.
Carlo Branch.
58 minutes and change.
Wow, that was a crazy one. I want to go back and listen to that one.
Can you guess who the person who we've interviewed over and over consistently I mean, not the longest, but consistently long and good interviews?
Daphne?
Mary Rhodes.
Mary Rhodes.
Mary's good at least for 35 minutes, and that's a
Right.
short one.
Yeah, and that's because
jam-packed with good information.
She was just all in that hotel quarantine and then part of a GHRA. She was definitely someone that we brought on. And, man, I got to commend her for this. There's just so much that has happened during the COVID. So much. One of the parts that I really loved was when they had the oversight hearing. And this is an issue that we really, I feel, went in on. You're reporting on this whole hotel